Battle through the heaven. Marrying Xun'er, but she refused the wedding night. Chapter 81. Xun'er. Is the gap between him and me so big? Jama Imperial Capital. These days, the Jama Imperial Capital is extremely lively. The Alchemist Conference is held only once every few years and has attracted countless spectators. This battle between alchemists really attracted everyone's attention. However, the final result of the Alchemist Conference made many people in the Jama Empire dissatisfied and even angry. Because the first place winner of that conference was actually an alchemist from the Azumo Empire. This result made the Jama Empire Alchemist Association feel extremely embarrassed, and the morale within the empire was also greatly dampened. Because the Jama Empire and the Azumo Empire have always been hostile countries, there have been constant wars and frictions between the two countries. Right now, at the Alchemist Conference held in the capital of Jama Empire, the first place was actually taken away by someone from the enemy country. How ridiculous. The night after the conference ended, lights were turned on in a room of an inn in the imperial capital, but no sound was heard for a long time. At this time, Xiaoyan was alone in the room, with a frown on his face and a somewhat depressed expression. There are always people who are better than you. Someone who is even more little missy than me actually has such a talent for refining medicine. Xiaoyan sighed in his heart. He also participated in this conference, but only got third place. The second place was Princess Yaoyu. Xiaoyan didn't react much to losing to the alchemist from the Azumo Empire. After all, that guy was already very old. However, Princess Yaoyu's strength made Xiaoyan doubt his talent in alchemy, which he had always been proud of. Boom boom. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Xiaoyan cleared his throat, hiding the frustrated look on his face, and said, "Come in." A Qianshan jade hand slowly pushed open the door, and a familiar figure walked in. Seeing that familiar pretty face, Xiaoyan felt relieved and a smile appeared on her face. It turned out that the person who came was Xun'er. "Brother Xiaoyan, how are your grades today?" Xun'er came over, sat down next to Xiaoyan, and asked with a smile. Third. The alchemist who hid his identity in the Azumo Empire is indeed amazing. However, I didn't expect that little Missy, who was trained by the Jama royal family, actually has such amazing alchemy skills. Could it be that Ji Yu Fei's casual guidance is really that amazing? Xiaoyan touched his nose and said a little depressed. When he came to the imperial capital, he heard that Princess Yaoyu had once received guidance from an alchemist named Ji Yu Fei, but he did not take it seriously at the time. After all, he had only heard of the name Ji Yu Fei not long ago, and he was not a well-known senior. But today, Princess Yaoyu's ability in refining medicine far exceeded his expectations. If only the alchemist from the Azumo Empire defeated him, it would be understandable, but he has been following Yao Lao cultivation for so long, how could he be inferior to Princess Yaoyu, or Ji Yu Fei behind Princess Yaoyu? At this time, Xiaoyan still didn't know Ji Yu Fei's specific identity. He had only heard that Ji Yu Fei was a young man with great talent. He had appeared in the imperial capital a few months ago with a 6th-level flying magical beast as a mount, which caused quite a stir. He didn't know that Ji Yu Fei's ability in refining medicine was so strong. Ji Yu Fei. Hearing Xiaoyan's words, Xun'er's eyes moved and his breathing stagnated. She was stunned for a moment, then nodded and said softly, "It would not be surprising if Ji Yu Fei was instructing personally." Xun'er knew Ji Yu Fei's ability in alchemy. At that time in Ji Yu domain, he was already a Tier 7 alchemist. In terms of attainments and talent in alchemy, Ji Yu Fei was among the best in the entire Ji Yu domain. Not to mention just a Jama Empire. "You know him?" Xiaoyan couldn't help but ask doubtfully after hearing the tone in Xun'er's words. "I know him, but not very well." Hearing Xiaoyan's question, Xun'er froze for a moment, then chose to just brush it off calmly. Subconsciously, she didn't want Xiaoyan to know that she had been married once. But seeing the doubt in Xiaoyan's eyes, Xun'er was not panicked, but thought of a way to change the subject. She took something out of the storage ring and opened her palm in front of Xiaoyan. An elixir plant with a faint spiritual fluctuation, quietly blooming with pale blue flowers, and the petals glowing faintly. This is another elixir that can restore soul power that Xun'er found after he learned that the 7 illusions green spirit saliva had been taken away by Ji Yu Fei. Xiaoyan's attention was finally diverted and his eyes fell on the elixir. Xun'er smiled sweetly and said, "Brother Xiaoyan, this is an elixir that can restore soul power. Xiao Yan's eyes were shocked. Xun'er put it directly into his hand. His eyes moved and he was very grateful in his heart. Xun'er, thank you. Brother Xiao Yan, as long as Xun'er can help you, it's enough. Xiao Yan put away elixir, and they smiled at each other, emotions flowing quietly in their eyes. Suddenly, there was a fluctuation in the space in the room. Xun'er's eyes narrowed. South Sea Elder. She quickly turned her head and saw a very familiar old face. Xun'er stood up nervously, trying to block Xiao Yan behind him calmly. She knew that most of the Jiyu clan elders disliked Xiao Yan. Could it be that she came here suddenly this time too? At this moment, Xiao Yan, who was standing behind Xun'er, had a confused look on his face. Because the sudden appearance of the old man put too much pressure on him. It felt like if the other party wanted to kill him, it would be as easy as crushing an ant. Xun'er, come back with me. The Jiyu clan elder who came glanced at Xiao Yan with his old eyes, then fell on Xun'er, and said meaningfully. I'm not going back. Hearing the words persuading her to go back again, Xun'er frowned and refused without hesitation. She had just met Xiao Yan and of course was reluctant to part with him so soon. Hearing this, Jiyu clan elder frowned and glanced at Xiao Yan behind her. Xun'er, you left Jiyu clan, and your cultivation base didn't improve at all. Did you know that Jiyu Fei broke through to the Do Venerable realm less than a year after leaving Jiyu clan? Your performance really disappointed the patriarch and the elders in the clan. If your cultivation base hadn't improved, we wouldn't have resorted to such a desperate measure to take you back. Elder sighed with a disappointed tone. Jiyu Fei breaks through Do Venerable. Xun'er was stunned when he heard Elder's words. It took him a long time to react, and his face was full of surprise. Obviously, the rapid progress of Jiyu Fei's cultivation base was far beyond her expectations. Has the gap between him and me become so big without me noticing? Xun'er lowered his eyelids, his mind unconsciously recalling some things that happened in Jiyu domain, his face inadvertently showing some bitterness, his pearly teeth lightly biting his rosy lower lip, his fingertips unconsciously pinching into his palm. However, she quickly recovered and her eyes regained calm. Thinking of her brother Xiao Yan behind her, she wanted to plead for mercy. Nane Elder, Xun'er is not unmotivated. I will definitely work hard on cultivation in the future. Can you give me some more time? There was some pleading in her eyes and her brows were furrowed. Then, Jiyu Fei is a Do Venerable strongman. A Do Venerable strongman who is stronger than a Do Ancestor strongman. On the side, Xiao Yan was also shocked as he listened to the conversation between Xun'er and Jiyu Nane. He is rarely seen in Jama Empire, Do Sovereign, and even Do King. To him now, the Do Venerable realm was like a legend that was out of reach. Chapter 82 Ziyan, did you do something bad to Xiao Yixian elder sister? This time, the patriarch has given the order, and I'm going to take you back no matter what. Facing Xun'er's plea, Elder was very serious. He shook his head at first, then flashed and appeared directly beside Xun'er, separating her and Xiao Yan. Xun'er tried to struggle but was caught by Elder. Xiao Yan just blinked and the room was empty. Xiao Yan, who was standing by, didn't even dare to think of stopping them. He could only hold back his fear and watch Xun'er's last look at him. The old man just now was really terrifying. Xun'er, I'm sorry. It was long after Xun'er left that Xiao Yan finally reacted. It's all my fault for being such a coward. He shook his head violently, secretly hating himself for not being strong enough. He clenched his fists, his eyes were determined, and he made up his mind to go to Xun'er's family to find Xun'er in the future. However, when he thought about the strength of the Xun'er family, he became a little discouraged. Just now it was just an elder, and the pressure he released without any deliberate effort had already frozen him in place, unable to move. And this was because Xun'er protected him. Such a powerful family. Is it really something I can get in touch with? Xiao Yan laughed bitterly and said self-deprecatingly. In fact, if Xiao Yan had the Do ancestor cultivation base at this moment, he might still be confident. It's a pity that he is too weak now, and it's a little early for him to know these things. This dealt a heavy blow to his confidence, and Xiao Yan couldn't help but retreat. Let's wake up the teacher first. After a long time, Xiao Yan sighed and took out the elixir that Xun'er brought. Anyway, Xun'er was taken back by his tribe, so he won't be in any danger for the time being. Yecheng. On the Yangwo ancient altar, Ji Yufei tied up Xiao Yixian's hair and asked softly, "How do you feel?" Xiao Yixian has a heartthrob emotion, and the emotion value increases by 100. She felt Ji Yufei's thoughtfulness, and her cheeks flushed again. She said softly, "It's okay, it's nothing serious now." Although Xiao Yixian felt very shy, she still leaned on Ji Yufei's shoulder lovingly. The two hugged each other, their breathing intertwined, their heartbeats gradually synchronized, and they quietly felt the fusion of their souls. This time, Ji Yufei and Xiao Yixian were truly united together. The relationship between the two was no longer that of friends, but had become lovers. Even the ignorant Ziyan and Qinglin could tell something was wrong in these situations. Although they didn't say it explicitly, the two of them had clearly broken through the ambiguous distance of friendship. Xiao Yixian's subconsciously dependent eyes and Ji Yufei's patient care. Ziyan and Qinglin could more or less see it. On this day, several people were chatting in the room. Ziyan sat down lazily next to Ji Yufei, almost lying on the table. She turned her head to look at Ji Yufei, and saw that Ji Yufei was combing Xiao Yixian's long hair with his eyes lowered. The curiosity in her heart was about to overflow. Ziyan becomes curious, and his emotion value increases by 100. Brother Ji Yufei, did something happen between you and Xiao Yixian elder sister, in that altar before? Ziyan narrowed his eyes and laughed, looking innocent. But the question was a bit shocking. Who would ask so directly? Her eyes were fixed on the hands of Xiao Yixian, and Ji Yufei held together after the combing was completed, and her gaze was burning. Hearing this, before Ji Yufei answered, Xiao Yixian sat up straighter, her cheeks already red, her lips trembling for a long time without saying anything, her eyes wandering. Why do kids ask these questions? Ji Yufei smiled helplessly, and took Xiao Yixian's hand and squeezed her soothingly. The scorching temperature made Xiao Yixian's face even redder. He raised his other hand and tapped Ziyan's forehead punishingly, making a crisp sound, and with Ziyan's cry of pain, the topic ended. Qinglin becomes curious, and his emotion value increases by 70. Qinglin was more reserved, and although he didn't ask as directly as Ziyan, his curious eyes also fell on them. Ji Yufei laughed. Why are these two Missy so gossipy? After a few more days of playing and quarreling, seeing that Xiao Yixian had adapted well and there were no other problems left, Ji Yufei prepared to leave. Afterwards, before leaving, Ji Yufei gave the Yi family a jade slip. This is a space jade slip. From now on, whenever the Yi family needs Ji Yufei to help, they can crush it and summon Ji Yufei. Thank you, Senior. Senior, take care. After Ji Yufei finished explaining its uses, Yi Zhang and his companions' eyes were filled with gratitude, and they respectfully saw Ji Yufei and his group off. After solving the problem of Xiao Yixian's poisonous body, Ji Yufei seemed to be more relaxed in Zhongzhou. After all, in the Dou Venerable realm, his body was absorbing Dou Qi all the time. Therefore, there is no need to worry that a moment of laxity will affect cultivation. One day, Ji Yufei suddenly remembered the soul of Venerable Tian Huo sealed in the storage ring. This is already Zhongzhou. Ji Yufei unsealed the seal, and the soul of Venerable Tian Huo appeared, and he spoke loudly. Thank you, my friend. Seeing the situation outside, Venerable Tian Huo glanced over with joy in his eyes. Then, his gaze fell on Ji Yufei, his eyes full of surprise. Venerable Tian Huo produces surprised emotions, emotional value increases by 50. Venerable Tian Huo didn't expect that in just a few months, Ji Yufei realm had actually climbed from Dou Ancestor to Dou Venerable. This kind of talent is simply enchanting. My friend, your talent for cultivation is truly unprecedented in my life. Venerable Tian Huo exclaimed. Then, he hesitated for a moment and said hesitantly, My friend, I see that your spiritual strength is obviously beyond that of a normal person, and you have mastered the heavenly flame, so you must be an alchemist, right? Ji Yufei nodded, already having some guesses in his mind about his sudden question. I have an unwelcome request. I hope you can help me refine a body. 1 volume of Dou technique was only given to me to bring you out. It's not enough to refine your body. Ji Yufei smiled and shook his head. If you are willing to help me recover my body, I will do whatever you say from now on. Venerable Tian Huo requested. In order to rebuild his body, he really gave it his all. Moreover, it was not shameful for Venerable Tian Huo to obey Ji Yufei. In the original novel, Xiao Yan was too weak, and even when he was asked to be a bodyguard, He was very reluctant and finally set a short time limit. As for Ji Yufei, he has reached Do Venerable at a young age through cultivation base. He has great potential in the future and may even become Do Saint. Venerable Tian Huo will not feel embarrassed to obey him. Ji Yufei looked at Venerable Tian Huo and hesitated for a moment. After all, with his status, he doesn't need any followers at all. Just talking about his Ji clan elder, each of them is very powerful. However, considering that I might have to act alone sometimes during this training trip, it seems like a good idea to find a strong bodyguard for Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin. So, Ji Yufei looked at Venerable Tian Huo's uneasy expression and did not hesitate. He nodded and agreed. Chapter 83 Ziyan. Goodbye, I will miss you. Venerable Tian Huo generates gratitude emotion. Emotion value increases by 60 inches. Thank you very much, my friend. After my body recovers, if you have any instructions, just let me know. Venerable Tian Huo's eyes lit up and he looked at Ji Yufei with gratitude. But the hesitant look on Ji Yufei's face made Venerable Tian Huo a little unsure of what he meant. My friend, is there anything wrong? Nothing. I just want to revive you, but I'm still short of some necessities. Ji Yufei shook his head slightly. Although he had promised Venerable Tian Huo to help him rebuild his body, Ji Yufei could not resurrect him, at least in the short term. Because, although Ji Yufei had no shortage of alchemy pills for refining his body and the essence and blood of magical beasts, he had no habit of carrying human corpses with him. It doesn't matter. I've waited for so many years, so I don't mind waiting a little longer. Venerable Tian Huo was relieved. He believed that a person like Ji Yufei would not easily break his promise. Therefore, Venerable Tian Huo's soul temporarily returned to the storage ring. When there is a human body suitable for him, Ji Yufei will start to help him restore his physical body. This time, Xiao Yixian's poisonous body hidden danger was finally solved. Ji Yufei's next focus will still be on collecting and refining heavenly flame. He thought carefully about the original work and found that, on the surface, the only heavenly flame known to have never been refined by anyone seemed to be the 3,000 flames imprisoned in the Pill Tower. The 3,000 flaming flames were trapped in the Pill Tower star field and had not been refined by anyone, and everyone had the opportunity to try. However, to have this opportunity, one must first be in the top 10 of the so-called pill competition. It is not difficult for Ji Yufei to be in the top 10 of the pill competition. However, the pill competition is still several years away, so Ji Yufei will naturally not wait until then to go. Any rules can be broken as long as you have enough strength. After a moment, Ji Yufei made a decision in his heart and decided to go to Pill region to give it a try. Pill Tower stipulates that only the top 10 in the pill competition will have the opportunity to try to subdue the 3,000 flames. But as long as he can offer enough benefits, Pill Tower might make an exception and allow him, an outsider, to give it a try. Pill Tower stands in Shungan City, which is the center of the entire Zhongzhou. Ji Yufei is now in the Pill region, so it is not troublesome. Along the way, it was relatively peaceful most of the time, but not absolutely. One evening later, Ji Yufei and his group had a conflict with a force in the Pill region. Kill the beast for me. Kill the male and leave the female to warm my bed. Opposite Ji Yufei, there were 3 other flying monsters. The leader was a young man in his 20s. At this moment, the young man was looking at Ji Yufei and his group with a joking look. The 2 old men beside him also showed cruel smiles. It is not surprising to have a 6th-level flying monster in this pill region. The people on the opposite side seemed to not take Ji Yufei and his group seriously at all. I was just worried about not having a corpse yesterday, and you guys delivered it just in time. Listening to the words of the person opposite him, Ji Yufei's eyes also revealed a hint of murderous intent. When he flipped his palm, except for the young man and the 2 old men beside him, all the others were shattered. What? Seeing this horrifying scene, the young man's face turned pale with fright. Among those dead people, there was a Do ancestor, who was killed without any warning. Mr. Li, Mr. Wang, you must protect me. The young man quickly hid behind the 2 old men. The 2 old men, whose cultivation bases were 7-star Do ancestor and 8-star Do ancestor respectively, were also a little timid at the moment, because Ji Yufei's move just now made them feel tremendous pressure. Seniors, we are confused. We hope that you can forgive our mistakes. One of them lowered his head quickly and said in a trembling voice. The young man didn't expect that he would hit a wall this time, and even the two elders couldn't save him. It's too late. Ji Yufei said in a cold voice that if he was not strong enough, he would be the one to die, so Ji Yufei would not show mercy to these people. In a breath, the young man and the two Dou ancestors were all killed by Ji Yufei. Among them, the body of the old man whose cultivation base reached 8-star Dou ancestor was left by Ji Yufei, who planned to resurrect Venerable Tian Huo with this body. Watching this scene, Xiao Yixian, Xing Lin and others didn't feel much. If they were in their place, if they had enough strength, they would also go on a killing spree like Ji Yufei. After all, they also heard what these people said just now. If you are not strong enough and fall into their hands, the end will be tragic. Let's go. Next, Ji Yufei found a place nearby, took out the alchemy pill, several bottles of monster blood and the corpse, and released the Venerable Tian Huo's soul from the storage ring. Mr. Yao, give me a little soul power. Ji Yufei said calmly that although he had never tried it before, he had strong confidence that he could successfully perform this method of resurrection. Hearing this, Venerable Tian Huo did not hesitate at all. A trace of soul power immediately emerged from his brows and floated towards Ji Yufei. Grabbing the soul power, Ji Yufei casually threw it into the corpse. Then he threw an alchemy pill in his hand towards Venerable Tian Huo. Take it, and when I say something, you will enter my body immediately. Venerable Tian Huo nodded solemnly, and without hesitation, he put the alchemy pill directly into his mouth, his eyes flashing with excitement. Next, Ji Yufei began to temper the body with heavenly flame, and added some magic beast essence and blood to make the body full of energy. With the integration of the magic beast essence and blood, the corpse gradually became full of vitality. Mr. Yao, come in. When the body's vitality reached its peak, Ji Yufei shouted. Venerable Tian Huo, who had been on standby, shuddered when he heard Ji Yufei's shout, and then he appeared in a phantom and rushed directly towards the corpse. After entering this body, Venerable Tian Huo felt as if his whole body was burning. He should have cried out in pain, but in his heart he laughed heartily. When he opened his eyes again, Venerable Tian Huo felt that he was really alive and no longer an illusory soul. However, this time when he was resurrected, his strength did not reach the peak level of that year, and he was only at the level of 2-star Dou Venerable. It would probably take him a few years to be promoted to his previous level. Venerable Tian Huo generates gratitude emotion. Emotion value increases by 50 inches. I cannot thank you enough for your kindness. From now on, I will follow your lead. It was a long time since I last saw this feeling, and Venerable Tian Huo couldn't help but burst into tears. Next, there was one more person traveling with Ji Yufei. Although Venerable Tian Huo is not talkative, he is also infected by the lively atmosphere. One day, when Ziyan was chewing a handful of pills, his body suddenly froze, and his expression suddenly looked a little strange. After Xiao Yixian noticed it, he asked, Ziyan, is there something on your mind? Xiao Yixian, elder sister, I seem to sense an aura connected to my bloodline. Ziyan spoke in a daze, her eyes slowly following the direction of the faint breath. Chapter 84. Xun'er's vision is really poor. This is a void of dark space, without any mountains, rocks, rivers or trees. The only thing that exists is the terrifying gale that can blow away a person's soul, and the spatial turbulence that can crush an ordinary Dou Venerable strongman. In the center of the spatial turbulence and terrifying gale, there lurked a purple behemoth that was hundreds of feet in size. The spatial turbulence that could crush a Dou Venerable warrior did not cause any damage to the behemoth. The body of this huge monster seemed to be tempered in this desperate place, and it became stronger and stronger. At a certain moment, the huge monster entrenched in the turbulence of space suddenly turned its huge head, and a faint purple light flashed in its pupils as big as hills. Its full appearance was actually a giant purple dragon, with scales all over its body that were dozens of times harder than steel. This is the aura of the royal bloodline. The purple dragon suddenly sensed the breath of the royal bloodline that it had been searching for. It looked in a certain direction, opened its mouth, and let out an excited human voice. Connected to the Ziyan bloodline. Could it be that someone from the Taishu ancient dragon clan is here? At this moment, on the back of the Lion King, Ji Yufei heard Ziyan's words, his mind turned, and he immediately guessed an answer. In the original novel, Ziyan was sensed by the Taishu ancient dragon clan and brought back to the ancient dragon clan shortly after arriving in the central region. However, Ji Yufei was not sure whether the Taishu ancient dragon clan that appeared this time was an enemy or a friend. After all, the ancient dragon clan has been in chaos since the disappearance of the old dragon emperor, and has been split into 4 parts. Among them, the 3 dragon kings of the west, south and north all have greedy ideas and want to become the only king and unify the dragon clan. Only a few elders and tribesmen of Donglong Island have always been loyal to the royal bloodline and are still trying tirelessly to find the royal bloodline. Elder sister Ziyan, is this really the case? Does that mean that there are people from your tribe nearby? Qing Lin heard her and asked. Although Qing Lin looks older than Ziyan, and when they stand together they look like the elder sister leading the younger sister, but Qing Lin is weak and shy. In addition, Ziyan is indeed older than Qing Lin. Her real age is even much older than Ji Yufei and Xiao Yixian. Therefore, in normal times, Ziyan always asks Qing Lin to call her sister. Maybe. Ziyan nodded uncertainly, with some hesitation in his eyes. Then, she turned her gaze to Ji Yufei. At this time, Ziyan trusted Ji Yufei very much, even a little dependent on him, so she hoped that Ji Yufei could say something. Ziyan was of course happy to suddenly feel the breath of connection with the bloodline, but she also felt a little timid. She needed Ji Yufei's affirmation. Ziyan, since you have already sensed it, if it is your clansmen, they should also be able to sense your presence, don't worry. Ji Yufei saw that she looked a little uneasy, and replied with a smile. After hearing this, Ziyan relaxed a little. She responded and then held her chin with her eyes blank. Soon, the space in front of them cracked with a loud bang, and a big hole appeared. Ziyan's eyes moved. Just a moment ago, she sensed that the aura connected to the bloodline suddenly became extremely close, allowing her to sense it clearly. Immediately, a sturdy figure emerged across the space. As soon as this figure appeared, an extremely strong pressure suddenly descended upon this world, causing the Lion King, a 6th order peak strength monster, to feel fear. 8-star Do Venerable. As soon as Venerable Tianhuo, who had recovered his physical body, saw this man, he immediately realized his strength, and a rare solemnity appeared on his face. Ji Yufei also felt the aura of this sturdy figure. Although he couldn't beat this man now, he was not worried. Because, ever since he broke through Do Venerable last time, he sensed a familiar aura at that moment, although he didn't find out who it was at that time. However, after this period of time, he gradually guessed one thing. That is, his whereabouts are likely to be known by the elders in the tribe. That aura must have been captured by him in an instant, and it has been secretly tracking and protecting him, the Jiyu clan elder. To take a step back, even if he guessed wrong, Ji Yufei could crush the space jade slip and summon the strong men of Jiyu clan to come. Therefore, although 8-star Do Venerable looked scary, there was no fear on Ji Yufei's face. Haha, it really is the royal bloodline. I finally found the royal bloodline. The burly figure that emerged from the space crack was a middle-aged man in leather clothes. After he appeared, he kept his eyes on Ziyan. Ziyan didn't know why, but her eyes were fixed on him, a little vague. After a moment, an uncontrollable laugh of surprise came out of his mouth. The laugh was extremely domineering, like thunder from the sky, sweeping across the sky. The voice also contained extremely powerful dragon power. At this moment, Ziyan's eyes were also filled with joy, and his eyes widened slightly. The big man's bloodline was similar to hers, and she instinctively felt close to him. Are you one of my people? Ziyan hesitated for a moment, then asked with a smile. Yes, we are all from the Taishu ancient dragon clan, and you are the royal bloodline of my clan. The big man smiled and nodded in response. Royal bloodline, let He Qing take you back to the clan. If the great elder knew that you had returned, they would be ecstatic. He Qing. After hearing the burly man's self-introduction, the remaining suspicions in Ji Yufei's heart were completely eliminated, and he felt a little relieved. He was quite impressed by this ancient dragon clan man named He Qing Taishu. After all, in the original novel, this guy appeared very frequently. In the Dragon Clan Rebellion, he was even willing to sacrifice his life to protect the royal bloodline. Ziyan took a deep breath and looked at Ji Yufei. Seeing Ji Yufei nod in agreement, a trace of reluctance flashed in her eyes. Ziyan feels reluctant to leave, and his emotion value increases by 100 since someone has come to her door and brother Ji Yufei has confirmed it. She must go. The opportunity to find out his true background was given to him as expected, but Ziyan was reluctant to leave. Brother Ji Yufei, goodbye. Elder sister Xiao Yixian, Qing Lin, we'll see you later. Ziyan looked at Ji Yufei, Xiao Yixian, Qing Lin and others with some reluctance, and said goodbye with difficulty. Goodbye. Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin said. Their eyes were a little red. Ziyan, see you later. Ji Yufei waved his hand, and the others watched Ziyan follow He Qing. As they entered the space torn apart by He Qing, the two of them disappeared in the blink of an eye. The bloodline of the royal family of the ancient dragon clan of Taishu. I didn't expect that the women Ji Yufei met were all extraordinary. One had a poisonous body, and the other had triple jade green snake flower pupils. In the distant void, an old man in a white robe had a surprised expression on his face. Alas, compared to Ji Yufei, Missy Xun'er's vision of people is far inferior. After a moment, the old man thought of something and couldn't help but sigh. Chapter 85. Yao Lao wakes up. Xiao Yanzi, don't panic, your master will take you to find heavenly flame. Northwest continent. On a Lois road 100 miles away from Jia imperial capital, a young man dressed in black and carrying a huge black ruler was walking alone. The boy had a calm look in his eyes, his clothes smelled faintly of blood, and the exposed skin was covered with sword marks of varying sizes. This young man was Xiao Yan, who had fought with Nolan Yanran during the day. Nolan Yanran's attack was fierce, and the ordinary alchemy pill was not very effective in healing him. Xiao Yan didn't care at the moment. He just wiped the sweat from his forehead, and his heart was very calm. This time, Xiao Yan did not get to know Hai Bodong and Queen Medusa as in the original book, and no one could protect him. Yun Yun also did not miss the duel as in the original book. Therefore, after Xiao Yan went up the mountain, he was afraid of some things in his heart and was not too arrogant, and his words were not as fierce as in the original book. During the day, on the magnificent square of Yunlin sect, Nolan Yanran was dressed in a moon-white robe, his youthfulness having faded away. Seeing Xiao Yan, whom he hadn't seen for 3 years, Nolan Yanran raised his chin slightly, his eyes were arrogant, and there was a bit of coldness on his delicate face. The long sword was unsheathed, with the tip of the sword pointing directly at Xiao Yan. Nolan Yanran, the 3-year period has come. Today, let us end these 3 years of grudges with this duel. Xiao Yan said in a deep voice, and after saying this, he slowly pulled out the huge black ruler behind him. The body is tense and the battle is about to begin. In the past 3 years, both of them have become talented people in Jia Empire and have made great progress. I hope this farce will end soon. On the high platform, Yun Yun lowered his eyes slightly, his gaze fell on the duel between Xiao Yan and Nolan Yanran, and he sighed in his heart. Yun Yun felt a little guilty towards the Xiao family for what happened back then. After all, Nolan Yanran's actions back then were a bit radical. If the two sides could negotiate privately, perhaps what happened today would not have happened. In the square, the air was silent for a moment, Xiao Yan's fingertips trembled, and his figure flashed quickly, and soon he rushed in front of Nolan Yanran. She snorted coldly, turned her wrist, and the long sword skillfully blocked between the two of them. The doqi fluctuated violently, and dazzling light occasionally burst out from the center of the battle. Yun Yun watched quietly. Although Xiao Yan's attack was extremely fierce and every move seemed like a fight for his life, Yun Yun was not worried about Nolan Yanran. This 3-year agreement is also a good practical opportunity for Yanran. Whether she wins or loses, it will greatly improve her state of mind and strength. With her around, Yanran would be fine even if she lost the competition. Yun Yun was confident that she could save Yanran from a boy who was less than 20 years old. She actually went to Big Do Master. As for Xiao Yan, because Yao Lao fell asleep early, he did not learn the Earth-grade Do technique, and he did not refine the Green Lotus geocentric flame. Therefore, his cultivation base did not break through to the Great Do Master. At the beginning, he relied on the skilled Do technique he had learned in the Warcraft Mountains to suppress Nolan Yanran. However, after Nolan Yanran displayed the Do Master cultivation base and used some secret Do techniques from the Yunlin sect, Xiao Yan immediately fell into a disadvantage and was defeated. Xiao Yan, you lose. His figure briefly hovered in the air, and Nolan Yanran spoke condescendingly. She was confident that she could end the duel and defeat Xiao Yan within a few moves. It seems that I have no choice but to use that. Xiao Yan frowned, with complicated thoughts in his eyes, as if he was making a decision. The next second, the Xuanzhong ruler in Xiao Yan's hand suddenly turned golden. Everyone in the square can see and feel the scorching heat. In another confrontation, the flames directly melted the Do Chi attack launched by Nolan Yanran. And it quickly broke through her defense and touched the sword. The flame burned extremely fast, and the sacred golden color seemed to burn everything in the world. How come? Nolan Yanran looked extremely surprised, and then he threw away the sword in his hand. What kind of flame is this? It can actually burn Do Chi energy. On the high platform, Yun Yun saw the golden flame and was filled with surprise. She flashed and quickly appeared in front of Nolan Yanran, standing between the two of them. Yanran, give up. Nolan Yanran heard this, and a trace of unwillingness flashed in her beautiful eyes. Teacher. Yun Yun didn't look back, and shouted coldly, this heavenly flame is extremely powerful. If you insist on fighting, I'm afraid you will be in great danger. I give up. Under the persuasion of his teacher, Nolan Yanran lowered his head and whispered. The next moment, the golden flame released by Xiao Yan was retracted. He was covered with sword marks and blood. He held on to the Xun'er ruler and barely stood up. That heavenly flame was actually a gold emperor heaven burning flame gifted by Xun'er. Thanks to it, Xiao Yan was able to counterattack and force Nolan Yanran to admit defeat. Perhaps he understood that his victory was not glorious because he relied on external factors, so Xiao Yan did not act too aggressively after the victory. In addition, after all, Nolan Yanran's master Yun Yun was present, so Xiao Yan was not sure that he could threaten a Do sovereign with this fire. He laughed out loud, then turned and left without hesitation. Xiao Yanzi, it seems that your cultivation has made good progress during this period. As Xiao Yan walked, some things that happened during the day flashed through his mind. Suddenly, a familiar old voice sounded. Xiao Yan was stunned for a moment, then realized that Yao Lao had woken up. Teacher, you're awake. Xiao Yan was overjoyed, with a smile all over his face. Next, Xiao Yan told Yao Lao, who had just woken up, about what had happened during this period. As for the Nolan Yanran incident, he actually didn't take it to heart anymore. What Xiao Yan really cares about is the incident that day in Jia Ma Empire when Xun'er was taken away. After hearing what Xiao Yan said, Yao Lao was silent for a moment. Xiao Yanzi, you should focus on your cultivation first. There are some things that are not good for you to know in advance. He let out a long sigh and said. From Xiao Yan's words, Yao Lao had already guessed something. As the old man said, Ji Yufei reached the Do Venerable realm when he was about the same age as Xun'er. Even Yao Lao had never encountered such a talent for cultivation that could goes against the heavens. Even in his former Yao clan, this kind of evildoer rarely appeared. Flame mantra has the opportunity to change all of this. As long as you do a good job of culturing, your future may not be worse than others. Yao Lao looked at Xiao Yan, who looked a little worried, and said in a low voice. He was not trying to comfort himself, but Fen Zhu did have a strength beyond his rank. Teacher, you arranged for me to train in the Warcraft Mountains. Where are we going next? Yao Lao pondered for a moment, and suddenly a place came to his mind. Next, let's go to Tajer Desert. From my impression, there is a high possibility that heavenly flame exists. There. Chapter 86. Star Field, 3000 Flames of Fire. Pill Region. As Ziyan's figure completely disappeared, Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin reluctantly withdrew their gaze. We should be happy for Ziyan that she can meet her people this time, and it's not like we won't meet again in the future. Ji Yufei comforted them with a few words and seemed very free and easy. Then, they climbed on the back of the Lion King and started heading towards the city of St. Dan. Inside the space wormhole, it was as boring as ever, but this time it was no longer quiet. Countless space ships flashed by in a spacious space channel, and noisy sounds filled the space channel. And in this noisy journey, the legendary Shungdan city is getting closer and closer. That day, Xiao Yixian woke up early in the morning. After a quick wash, he planned to wake Qing Lin up. She cleared her throat. Qing Lin, it's time to get up, it's almost time. She habitually called out Ziyan's name, and she was stunned for a moment, hiding the sadness in her eyes. After all, he had experienced so many companions before, and they suddenly left. Even after 2 days, Xiao Yixian still couldn't adapt. Ji Yufei heard her sudden pause and reacted quickly. He hugged Xiao Yixian, hugging her tightly with his warm body. Don't be too sad, we and Ziyan will meet again in the future. Xiao Yixian raised his eyes and asked hesitantly, really? Ji Yufei gently rubbed Xiao Yixian's head and said with a smile, I will definitely do it. Xiao Yixian generates dependent emotions, and the emotion value increases by 100. Xiao Yixian responded muffledly, and buried his whole body in Ji Yufei's arms, leaning against him lovingly, smiling happily. A few days later, when they left the space wormhole again and appeared in the sight of Ji Yufei, Xiao Yixian and others, they saw a huge square made entirely of red rocks. There is no end to this square. The only thing you can see is a red line that stretches to the end of your sight. Judging from its appearance, it must be at least thousands of meters wide. A person standing in it would be as small as an ant. Wow! This is so spectacular. Qing Lin's eyes were full of curiosity, and he couldn't help but exclaim. This is just a space point in the outer area of Shungdan City. There are 8 such space squares in the outer area. Ji Yufei introduced. Just this square is probably nearly 1/10 the size of Yi City, but Shungdan City is equipped with 8 of them. Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin couldn't help but marvel at the hugeness of the place. They looked around with curiosity and yearning in their eyes. Haha, don't be surprised. Shungdan City is divided into the outer area and the inner area. Now we are in the outer area. As for Pill Tower, it is in the inner area. Of course, no matter the outer area or the inner area, it is the territory of Pill Tower. Seeing their surprised expressions, Ji Yufei couldn't help but laugh and said, although this Shungdan City is called a city, it is far from being comparable to ordinary cities. If we only talk about area, dozens of Yi cities can't catch up with it. Venerable Tian Huo didn't say anything, although there was a hint of yearning in his eyes. But he was not as exaggerated as Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin. He had been here in the past and knew something about Shungdan City. In the true center of Zhongzhou, riding a 6th order flying magical beast would still attract a lot of attention, but it was not surprising. Because here, even a Tier 6 alchemist, who is a rare and protected existence in the outside world, seems to have become extremely common here. After only entering the outer realm for a short while, Ji Yufei and his companions met at least 2 or 3 people wearing Tier 6 alchemist badges. Because it was already dusk, Ji Yufei did not take the others to wander around Shungdan City. Instead, he found an inn and stayed there. As time goes by, the night slowly pours down from the sky. The entire city of Shungdan is shrouded in the hazy night. On the balcony on the 2nd floor of the inn, Ji Yufei stood with his hands behind his back, looking up at the bright stars in the sky. The 3,000 raging flames are in the starry sky within the city of Shungdan. Ji Yufei is determined to win 3,000 raging flame. Next to her, Xiao Yixian, dressed in a white dress, was standing there pretty. The moonlight from the sky poured down and shone on her body like silver gauze, adding a touch of charm. You haven't rested yet. Ji Yufei smiled, put his arm around the beautiful woman's slender waist, leaned close to her ear and whispered intimately, causing Xiao Yixian to blush and her eyes to soften. Xiao Yixian becomes shy, and his emotion value increases by 100. Now Ji Yufei and Xiao Yixian have advanced to a romantic relationship, and their conversations are very ambiguous. She was not much different from the gentle Xiao Yixian in Qingshan town. She still had a gentle smile and her red lips were slightly raised. The girl who looks weak and harmless actually has a horrible physique like the poisonous body of evil. The culturing speed of her evil poison body was extremely fast, and now Xiao Yixian had already reached the Doling culturing base. This terrifying speed was the result of Ji Yufei deliberately suppressing her by controlling the amount of poison she took. After all, in the original work, Xiao Yixian only took more than 3 years. He grew from a player with no culturism to a 3-star Do ancestor. And Qing Lin's little Missy now has a big Do master cultivation base. Because she can absorb the energy of snake-shaped monsters controlled by triple jade green snake flower pupils. This cheating-like ability is equivalent to the method of absorbing energy in the world of martial arts. On the balcony, the two snuggled together, quietly admiring the vast sea of stars in the sky. I'm a little tired. After a while, Xiao Yixian closed his eyes and spoke softly. Ji Yufei gently rubbed her temples and whispered, then go to bed early. Well, you should get some rest too. Xiao Yixian glanced at Ji Yufei with resentment, then turned and left. After Xiao Yixian entered the room, Ji Yufei's eyes moved. Then, it slowly closed again. The moment he closed his eyes, tremendous spiritual strength, like a tide, spread out from between his brows, and then spread towards the bright starry sky. Soon, this spiritual strength penetrated a strange energy barrier and entered a dark place. In the soul's vision, a giant dragon that seemed to have no end was coiling and squatting with its pupils closed. Above its body, there was a strange purple-black heavenly flame swirling. This is the 3000 raging flame, worthy of being the 9th heavenly flame in the heavenly flame ranking. Seeing the giant dragon filled with purple-black flames and pressure, Ji Yufei murmured in his heart. 3000 raging flame, also known as 3000 starry sky flame, ranks 9th in the heavenly flame ranking. It is formed in the starry sky and can absorb the power of the stars, constantly becoming stronger. It was recorded in ancient books that 3000 raging flames took shape, silver fire fell from the sky, and 1,000 miles of land became like a desert, with no distinction between day and night, no stars visible, and no sun rising. Because it is located in the starry sky, which is difficult for ordinary people to reach, the general existence time of 3000 raging flame will be longer than other serverless heavenly flame. And it is precisely because of this that it has been given enough time to evolve. Therefore, most of the 3000 raging flames that have been discovered are super spiritual creatures with high intelligence. Even if we find it, it will be extremely difficult to capture it. This heavenly flame possesses an extremely special ability, which is the rumored 3000 star physique, which can absorb the power of the stars to strengthen itself or heal injuries. Therefore, some strong men who have fought against people who possess the 3000 raging flame called this physique a mortal body. At this moment, Ji Yufei looked at the quietly burning purple-black flame and felt a burning heat in his heart. Who dares to spy on the Dancheng star region? Just as Ji Yufei was pondering in his heart, a loud shout suddenly rang out from the depths of his soul. The sudden loud shout, with a huge pressure, acted on his spiritual strength. However, Ji Yufei had already entered the spiritual realm, and the strand of spiritual strength that was separated from him was not shattered, but returned to his body safely. Chapter 87 Queen Medusa. How could this king have such a dirty idea? It's time to go to bed. Spiritual strength exited the star field, and Ji Yufei slowly turned around, as if nothing had happened in the star field just now. Next, he went straight to the outside of Xiao Yixian's room. Xiao Yixian, are you asleep? Ji Yufei asked softly, but there was no response from inside the room. However, Ji Yufei found that the door of the room was not closed, but just ajar. Upon noticing this, he walked straight in with a strange smile on his face. Inside the room, Xiao Yixian was not asleep. Ever since their relationship went too far last time, she had regarded Ji Yufei as the only one in her life. When she noticed that it was Ji Yufei who came in, she quickly closed her eyes. A little heart is beating fast. Are you really asleep? Ji Yufei came to the bed, looked at the beauty with her eyes closed, and asked again. At this moment, he could clearly hear Xiao Yixian's accelerated heartbeat and breathing. It was obvious that Xiao Yixian was pretending to be asleep. The door was left open on purpose because Xiao Yixian left it open for himself. Sleep. Forget it. You should have a good rest. The corners of Ji Yufei's mouth rose slightly, and then he turned around. However, at this moment, a snow-white arm quickly reached out from under the quilt and grabbed him. No, family has been waiting for you. Then, a soft, delicate voice came out of Xiao Yixian's mouth. After saying this, Xiao Yixian's face flushed, and then she shyly pulled up the quilt and buried her head in the quilt. Little witch, since you won't come out, I'll go in. Ji Yufei took advantage of the situation and got into bed. While taking off his clothes, he set up a seal to isolate the room. The bed was very warm, and as their skins touched, Ji Yufei felt that his soul and Xiao Yixian's soul had merged into one. Soon, the atmosphere in the room became extremely charming. It's so hot. At a certain moment, Xiao Yixian suddenly kicked the quilt away, and the two uncovered young bodies hugged each other tightly. Xiao Yixian becomes happy, and his emotion value increases by 100. Queen Medusa has an angry emotion, and the emotion value increases by 100 at this time. A colorful little snake crawled from the end of the bed to the corner of the room. There seemed to be a hint of human contempt in its pair of colorful snake eyes. At this time, Ji Yufei automatically filtered out other sounds, ignored the system prompts, and focused only on the important matter at hand. Damn you! You actually humiliated me like this. Wait for me. Inside the colorful little snake, the soul of Queen Medusa accused Ji Yufei, but Ji Yufei could not hear any of it. Although Queen Medusa was angry about Ji Yufei's behavior, she didn't dare to use force at all, because she knew that Ji Yufei was so powerful that he could crush her to death with just a flick of his finger. Moreover, he had witnessed Ji Yufei and Xiao Yixian's combination several times with his own eyes. Queen Medusa seemed unable to get rid of that scene in her mind. Originally, Queen Medusa always found these things disgusting. But that night, listening to the charming voice coming from the other side, she unconsciously had some strange thoughts. No, how can I have such a dirty thought? Queen Medusa's soul tried her best to resist that thought, and she secretly vowed in her heart that she must escape from Ji Yufei's clutches as soon as possible. The next day, Ji Yufei got up at noon. He covered Xiao Yixian with a blanket, changed his clothes, and put the listless and resentful little snake in the corner into his sleeve. After coming out of the room, Ji Yufei saw Qing Lin standing not far from the door. Qing Lin had a smile on his face. Brother Ji Yufei, you are up now. Where is Xiao Yixian elder sister? Why hasn't she come out yet? Hearing little Missy's words, Ji Yufei felt a little embarrassed and said vaguely, she is a little tired and is still resting. It's already noon. How come Xiao Yixian elder sister is still tired after sleeping for so long? Did you guys practice all night last night? Qing Lin muttered with some doubt. Practicing all night. Hearing Qing Lin say this, Ji Yufei felt a little embarrassed. He didn't want to continue talking about this topic, so he quickly found an excuse to leave. He found the Lion King and Venerable Tianhuo, and asked them to protect Qing Lin and Xiao Yixian. With Venerable Tianhuo's strength, he was considered a strong man even in Shungdan City. Ji Yufei himself planned to go to the Pill Tower in the inner area to meet some people. Pill Tower is located in the central area of Shungdan City. This area is the holy place in the hearts of countless alchemists. They had just gradually entered the inner area, and when Ji Yufei stepped into the inner area's city gate, the noisy noise suddenly became much weaker. In the inner area of Shungdan City, only those forces related to Pill Tower or high-level alchemists are allowed to move in. Therefore, the quality of the inner domain is incomparable to that of the outer domain. As he stepped into the inner area, Ji Yufei raised his head and his eyes were fixed on the center of the inner area. There, a black tower nearly 100 feet high stood tall, like a small mountain, giving people a sense of majestic grandeur. The top of the giant tower is so deep in the clouds that it is almost invisible at first glance. It looks extremely mysterious amidst the clouds and mist. That's the Pill Tower. Looking at the huge black tower that was like a pillar supporting the sky, Ji Yufei's face showed some amazement. This time, Ji Yufei was thinking about going straight to the point and finding the top management of Pill Tower, proposing to try to subdue the 3,000 flames of flame, and see what requests Pill Tower would make. The defenses outside the Pill Tower were tight, so when Ji Yufei arrived, he revealed his entire aura without any restraint. Showing your strong identity can avoid some unnecessary troubles. Please pass on the message. I want to meet the 3 giants of Pill Tower. Ji Yufei directly stated his purpose. This person's aura is so strong, it seems that he is stronger than Elder Sheng. Could he be Do Venerable? How is this possible for such a young Do Venerable strongman? At this moment, these guards did not underestimate Ji Yufei because of the powerful aura he displayed. The 3 presidents are very busy, and we are not sure whether we will meet you. Go inform the elder. The guard leader spoke in a serious tone. Although Ji Yufei revealed the aura of Do Venerable, it was not enough to frighten the Pill Tower guards, because they were sure that no one would be bold enough to come to Pill Tower to cause trouble. Thank you. Ji Yufei smiled. After a while, an old man in a white robe came out of the Pill Tower and walked towards this side. Judging from his cultivation base, he was probably a 2-star Do Venerable. Meet Elder Li. As the old man arrived, the guards around him saluted him one after another. It's actually Do Venerable cultivation base. The old man arrived and looked at Ji Yufei carefully, his eyes full of surprise. He is the only young man with such a talent for culturation. Although Elder Li also suspected that Ji Yufei's real age was not as good as expected, he could not find any clues. Chapter 88. The Witch Cao Ying. This is Elder Li, one of the 8 great elders of Pill Tower. A guard introduced the old man to Ji Yufei. Elder Li, my name is Ji Yufei. Ji Yufei smiled and nodded in greeting, without any formalities. Young friend Ji Yufei, where are you from? Elder Li didn't care. After all, Ji Yufei and he were from the same cultivation base. From the eastern region. Hearing this, Ji Yufei spoke frankly. Eastern region. Ji Yu surname. Could this person be from? After listening to Ji Yufei's words, the old man thought for a moment, and suddenly a look of shock appeared on his face. In the eastern region, the Ji Yu clan is almost the emperor of all forces. It is such a powerful force, above Zhongzhou. The more powerful people are, the more they can understand its horror. Therefore, when guessing that Ji Yufei might be a member of Ji Yu clan, Li Elder was very shocked. My friend, please follow me. With the guidance of this high-ranking great elder in Pill Tower, Ji Yufei passed the strict inspection outside the Pill Tower very smoothly and entered the huge Pill Tower. After entering Pill Tower, Elder Li took Ji Yufei straight to the upper floors of the giant tower. After a long time, he finally stopped outside a very spacious hall. Afterwards, Ji Yufei waited outside while Elder Li went into the hall to pass on the message. Okay, young friend Ji Yufei, the president has agreed to meet with you. Elder Li came outside the hall and motioned Ji Yufei to go in. The hall is filled with numerous bookshelves, giving it a messy feel. It is filled with flames of different colors, and the interweaving of colorful flames gives it a dreamy and hazy feeling. Ji Yufei stepped lightly on the stone slab, his eyes swept around, and after a moment, he stopped in front of a bookshelf. There, an old man in white was carefully sweeping the dust on the bookshelf. There was not a single bit of aura emanating from this old man in white. He looked just like an ordinary old man. However, how could someone who could be treated with great respect by Elder Li be an ordinary person? Ji Yufei was not too surprised at this moment. He had seen many strong people like this. In terms of the number of strong men, the mere Pill Tower is nothing compared to the Ji Yu clan. The old man in the hall is Zhang Kongzi, the leader of the 3 giants of Pill Tower. This boy is indeed extraordinary. Although Elder Li had already told him some of the details, Zhang Kongzi was still very surprised when he saw Ji Yufei's age, cultivation base, and soul realm with his own eyes. I guess you, senior, are President Zhang Kongzi. Ji Yufei bowed and said with a smile. My dear Ji Yufei, what do you want to discuss with me? Zhang Kongzi nodded, and without beating around the bush, he asked Ji Yufei directly about the purpose of his visit. I came here to try to subdue Pill Tower and imprison the 3,000 flames. Ji Yufei said bluntly. He knew that Pill Tower had been suppressing the 3,000 flames for many years, and was also looking for the right person to subdue the fire. As long as it is not obtained by the mortal enemy Soul Palace, Pill Tower will basically not resist. Are you sure you want to subdue the 3,000 flames? Hearing this, Zhang Kongzi's expression changed slightly, and he asked seriously. Since I'm here, I'm more or less confident. Ji Yufei nodded confidently. Although my Pill Tower has not been able to subdue the 3,000 flames for so many years, this thing is still a Pill Tower thing after all. It has always been a reward for the winner of the pill competition. You are breaking the rules by going there this time. Zhang Kongzi spoke calmly. From his words, it was hard to tell whether he was refusing or agreeing. This thing belongs to Pill Tower. If I take it, I will naturally give some compensation. Ji Yufei said with a smile, signaling the other party to make an offer. Haha, my friend, you misunderstood. Zhang Kongzi waved his hand and did not ask Ji Yufei for anything. Even I don't have the right to make the decision directly on this matter. Please wait patiently while I discuss this with others. Zhang Kongzi continued. When the results come out, I will send someone to inform you. Okay. Then I'll wait for good news. Next, Ji Yufei left the hall, but before he had taken a few steps, a female figure appeared at the end of the spacious corridor. The woman had a slender body and was wearing a black dress that revealed a hint of coldness and arrogance. Her skin was as white as snow and her 3,000 black hair was casually draped over her shoulders. Her face was a little thin, but extremely delicate, like porcelain, making people feel unable to let it go. The woman stood at the corner of the aisle, looking around slightly. Her narrow and slightly lazy eyes were filled with a hint of enchantment and charm. This woman has a strong charm, and even Ji Yufei can't help but look at her with admiration. Missy Cao Ying is here. Li Elder, who was walking side by side with Ji Yufei, seemed to be very familiar with the woman in black. They greeted each other with a smile as soon as they met. Meet Elder Li. The woman in black also smiled and saluted Elder Li. But the next moment, his eyes turned to Ji Yufei beside Li Elder. Elder Li, who is this? Cao Ying was a little curious. She had never seen Ji Yufei before, so why did he come out from her teacher's place? Moreover, the majestic aura of Ji Yufei frightened Cao Ying. This is young friend Ji Yufei, who just came to discuss something with the president. Li Elder answered briefly. He is not sure about Ji Yufei's identity now. Hearing Li Elder addressing Ji Yufei, Cao Ying became even more curious. Normally, Li Elder addressed the Pill Tower juniors like them, boy, and Missy. He came to talk to the teacher about something. What is it that needs to bother the teacher? Although Cao Ying was curious, she did not ask. Hello, Master Ji Yufei. Hello. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. In response to Cao Ying's proactive greeting, Ji Yufei simply nodded and then left. What a strange person. Faced with Ji Yufei's coldness, Cao Ying couldn't help but mutter in her heart. She is the most outstanding talent in the history of the Cao family. At the age of 15, she became a disciple of one of the three giants of Pill Tower. Now, at the age of just 17, he has been promoted to Tier 6 alchemist. According to this development trend, 100 years later, it is absolutely possible for her to become a candidate for the Pill Tower giant. Even with the right opportunity, she can eliminate the so-called candidate position and become a real Pill Tower female giant. The Pill Tower is a holy place in the hearts of almost all alchemists in the continent. It can even be said without exaggeration that the Pill Tower giants are the spiritual leaders in the hearts of countless alchemists. For a woman with such great achievements, the dazzling halo above her head is indeed enough to make everyone look up to her. Moreover, her beauty is rare in the world. Ji Yufei's attitude just now was very calm, unlike that of others. Such behavior made Cao Ying inexplicably want to get to know this person. Chapter 89. Xiao Yixian's Jealousy. Cao Ying becomes curious and doubtful, and her emotion value increases by 40. Cao Ying stared at Ji Yufei's back, lifted her long hair with her slender hands, tucked it behind her ears, and pursed her red lips slightly. Elder Li, what on earth did Ji Yufei come to see the teacher just now? It was not until Ji Yufei's figure disappeared around the corner that Cao Ying retracted her gaze and turned to look at Li Elder, asking curiously. These? I'm not very clear about them. The president is in there, so you might as well go and ask him in person. Li Elder shook his head. Cao Ying frowned, responded, and walked towards the hall in front with her skirt fluttering. Inside the main hall, Zhang Kongzi was facing away from Cao Ying, gazing out the window with a leisurely gaze. A gleam of light flashed in his old-looking eyes. Teacher, why did that person come here just now? After Cao Ying came in and bowed to Zhang Kongzi and greeted him, he couldn't wait to ask about Ji Yufei. Under normal circumstances, Cao Ying would not be so curious about everyone Zhang Kongzi had met. However, Ji Yufei gave her an unusual feeling, and it was not just because of the way Li Elder addressed Ji Yufei, and her own intuition. Zhang Kongzi turned around and said calmly, the young man just now wanted to try to subdue the 3,000 flames of flame. Hearing this, Cao Ying's usually charming eyes showed a rare hint of surprise. She couldn't help but stand up straighter, frowning slightly with a hint of doubt. So many seniors in Pill Tower couldn't subdue the 3,000 flames of flame, can he do it? Looking at his appearance, he seems to be full of confidence. I am also quite optimistic about him. Zhang Kongzi said with a smile. Hearing this, Cao Ying fell silent for a moment. She didn't expect that her teacher was so confident in Ji Yufei. What exactly was his ability? Xun'er, the cultivation base of that young man just now has reached the Do Venerable realm. Zhang Kongzi spoke in a deep voice. Hearing this, Cao Ying was stunned. She never thought that Ji Yufei, who was so young, had such a powerful cultivation base. But this is not the end. Zhang Kongzi's next words shocked Cao Ying even more. Also, his soul power is very strong, and his attainments in alchemy should be very high. Cao Ying couldn't help but hold her breath, vaguely realizing something. To be able to have the teacher personally evaluate how strong his spiritual strength is, this Ji Yufei is truly extraordinary. She narrowed her eyes and suddenly an idea popped into her mind. Could it be that Ji Yufei was actually some man with the secret of maintaining youth? Xun'er, with your talent, you should be among the best in this pill region, but compared to him, you are still far behind. Teacher, could it be that he is some senior? She asked rather tactfully, still unwilling to give up. He is a rare genius in the entire city of Sandan and Pill Tower. Of course Cao Ying was proud. She has been the leader among the younger generation for several years. Now, a monster who is more powerful than her has appeared out of nowhere. Cao Ying certainly doesn't want to admit it. Zhang Kongzi stared at Cao Ying for a while, then slowly shook his head. This is a denial of Cao Ying's idea. Zhang Kongzi was very sure that Ji Yufei did not use any technique to maintain his youth. But he is really young. Cao Ying couldn't hide her shock. Her beautiful eyes widened slightly. She didn't expect that the teacher would speak so highly of that person. She took a deep, difficult breath and had a terrible suspicion. Teacher, could it be that person has reached the Tier 7 top-level alchemist realm? She spoke doubtfully, with inexplicable emotions in her heart. Zhang Kongzi shook his head, his eyes meaningful. Not Tier 7, his soul power has already entered the true spiritual realm. Spiritual realm. How is this possible? Cao Ying's breathing quickened, her chest heaving dramatically, revealing an alluring curve, her red lips trembling slightly, feeling incredible. Ji Yufei looked about the same age as her, but he was so charming and charming. This was a huge blow to Cao Ying, who had always been confident. She took a few steps back in disbelief, then made an excuse and left in a hurry. She really wanted to get to know Ji Yufei. As Cao Ying left, Zhang Kongzi let out a long sigh. Not long after, two other figures appeared in the hall. One of them was an old man in black. His skin was quite dark and his face was tense. He looked stern and unsmiling. The other person was a beautiful woman in Cheongsam. She might not be younger than Zhang Kongzi, but her appearance was that of a woman around 30 years old. His expression is indifferent, with a hint of the charm of time. These two people are also Pill Tower giants, Tian Leizi and Zhan Yi. At this moment, the three giants gathered together, and Zhang Kongzi explained the situation in just a few words. After hearing Shuang Kongzi's words, Tianlizi's first reaction was to refuse. How can the Pill Tower regulations be violated so easily? I know what you mean, but no one has been able to refine it for many years. We still need to keep a close eye on it at all times. At least, he is the most likely person I have seen in all these years. Zhan Yi, who was silent at the side, heard this and stared at the starry sky outside the window for a moment, then nodded slowly. Since you said so, I can consider it. Tian Leizi on the side hesitated a little. It was the first time he saw Zhang Kongzi speak so highly of a young man. If there is no problem with his identity, then let him give it a try. Tian Leizi compromised, but still wanted to confirm Ji Yufei's identity. So they sent people to find out Ji Yufei's information, such as when he came, which inn he stayed in, and his entourage. However, Venerable Tian Huo, this Do Venerable, was unfamiliar to them. They had never seen him before. Ji Yufei, surname Ji Yu. When they thought of these words, the three of them looked at each other with different looks in their eyes. Could it be that this person really is from that ancient mysterious clan? Tian Leizi confirmed Zhang Kongzi's guess in his heart and no longer expressed any objection. After some discussion, they finally decided to let Ji Yufei give it a try and make some good connections. Anyway, Pill Tower had long wanted someone to deal with the 3,000 flames of flame. If they were placed in the star field, they would need the three of them to maintain the seal from time to time. As for whether Ji Yufei can succeed, that is not something they consider. On the other side, Ji Yufei had already returned to the inn. On the way, he thoughtfully bought a dessert for Xiao Yixian. So sweet. Xiao Yixian couldn't help but smile sweetly as he had delicious food right after getting up. Xiao Yixian develops attachment emotion. Emotion value increases by 100 on the side. Qing Lin's gaze kept switching between Xiao Yixian and Ji Yufei. This caused Ji Yufei to touch his nose and look away, feeling a little guilty, as if he was afraid that Qing Lin would ask the same question again. Looking at Ji Yufei's appearance, Xiao Yixian laughed out loud, because Qing Lin had just asked her about the two of them's practicing. Qing Lin, let's eat together. Therefore, Xiao Yixian chose to sacrifice delicious food to shut Qing Lin up. After the two finished eating, they had nothing to do, so Ji Yufei decided to take Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin to walk around Shengdan City, while waiting for Pill Tower to make the final decision. Brother Ji Yufei, Xiao Yixian elder sister, let's go over there and take a look. The streets of Sandan City are really bustling, with shouts and the aroma of food everywhere. Qing Lin's pupils dilated with excitement, and when he saw something that interested him, he pulled the sleeves of the two people and wanted to walk over there. Suddenly, a lazy and charming female voice was heard from behind them. Mr. Ji Yufei, what a coincidence. I didn't expect that we would meet again so soon. Ji Yufei turned around and looked. The person who came was actually Cao Ying. She was wearing the same black dress she had worn before, which made her skin look as white as jade and her face look particularly delicate. Well, Ji Yufei was stunned for a moment. Cao Ying said it was an accidental encounter, but no matter how you look at it, it seemed like she came to him on her own initiative. Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin also turned around, and when they saw Cao Ying for the first time, they both discovered that the person who was speaking was a great beauty. She stood there, attracting the attention of countless people around her. Thinking of what Cao Ying said just now, Xiao Yixian glanced at Ji Yufei slowly and asked in a low voice, "Do you know each other?" Cao Ying's outstanding beauty, coupled with that sentence, made Xiao Yixian a little sensitive. Chapter 90 Cao Ying, I want to have an in-depth discussion with you. Xiao Yixian becomes jealous and suspicious, and his emotion value increases by 120. Hearing this prompt from the system, Ji Yufei couldn't help but frown. When did Missy become so sensitive? He met Xiao Yixian's eyes and replied with a smile, I met him during the day when I went to Pill Tower to discuss something with Zhang Kongzi. Just meeting once. Can that fairy-looking woman greet me so enthusiastically on the street? After hearing what Ji Yufei said, Xiao Yixian still felt a little worried. But in the end, she still chose to believe Ji Yufei. Because Ji Yufei's attitude towards that woman was very indifferent, even if that woman had any improper thoughts, it was just wishful thinking. Instead, it proves how charming her brother Ji Yufei is. What a coincidence, Miss Cao Ying, I have something else to do, so I'll leave first. Ji Yufei greeted Cao Ying casually and then prepared to leave. Seeing Ji Yufei's response to Cao Ying, Xiao Yixian felt relieved again. She moved closer to Ji Yufei intimately, and the two of them walked shoulder to shoulder, preparing to leave with Qing Lin, who was watching the scene in confusion beside them. Mr. Ji Yufei, please wait. As Ji Yufei took a step forward, a charming and delicate voice sounded behind him. Ji Yufei frowned, paused for a moment, and turned his head to look at Cao Ying's charming face. Miss Cao Ying, is there something wrong? Although Ji Yufei was smiling, Cao Ying could see clearly that the smile did not reach his eyes. Cao Ying's eyes moved, and she looked charming and seductive, with a kind of temptation that made people unable to look away. She smiled and said, I didn't have a deep conversation with Master Ji Yufei when we met last time. Now that we have time, why don't we chat together? Hearing Cao Ying's invitation, Ji Yufei raised his eyebrows. His moment of stunnedness was naturally noticed by Xiao Yixian beside him. Xiao Yixian becomes nervous, and his emotion value increases by 100 then. Without any reservation, she took Ji Yufei's arm, and the two of them leaned against each other closely, as if declaring her sovereignty to Cao Ying. As the two women's eyes met, an undercurrent surged. Xiao Yixian's appearance is not as charming as Cao Ying's. But it is warm and gentle, as ethereal and gentle as a fairy. If Cao Ying is a charming and enchanting demon girl, then Xiao Yixian is the fairy who fell into the mortal world. The two women have completely different temperaments, but they are equally fascinating. I don't think this is necessary. Ji Yufei certainly noticed Xiao Yixian's mood and rejected Cao Ying directly. Such words of rejection were undoubtedly like a bucket of cold water poured on Cao Ying. Cao Ying feels surprised and aggrieved, and her emotion value increases by 60. Cao Ying has always been proud of herself. In this pill region with countless geniuses, no man is as worthy of her attention. Usually, as soon as she opens her mouth, Countless men will come up to her and show their courtesy. But Ji Yufei ignored her and rejected her again and again, which made Cao Ying feel a little embarrassed, and at the same time, a strange flame ignited in her heart. Master Ji Yufei, I heard from my teacher that you are also an alchemist. In fact, I came here today to learn from you. Cao Ying hid her emotions and spoke again. Sparring. Hearing Cao Ying's words, Ji Yufei chuckled softly, his eyes falling on her calmly, making it hard to tell whether he was happy or simply disdainful of it. Of course, this competition is not about cultivation base, but a competition of souls. Cao Ying Yanran smiled, her delicate face revealing a touching charm. This woman is like a vixen who brings disaster to the country and the people. Her every frown and smile is enough to drive a man crazy. Almost all the men around her focused their eyes on her. That charming face, the enchanting figure that could not be hidden by the tight black dress, and the soft voice, each of which could attract the attention of a large number of men around. Cao Ying is a very famous person in Shungdan City. After all, her talent in alchemy is truly extraordinary. Some passers-by recognized Cao Ying and couldn't help but exclaim in their hearts, and then their eyes fell on Ji Yufei, who was opposite Cao Ying. Who is this person, and how could he make the evil woman Cao Ying take the initiative to challenge him? Cao Ying's charming smile was indeed very effective. Ji Yufei's eyes showed a moment of appreciation. However, facing the other party's desire to compete, he just replied lightly, "You are not qualified." There was no discrimination in Ji Yufei's words, but they were his true thoughts. After all, in Ji Yufei's perception, Cao Ying is just a late-stage soul that has just entered the mortal realm. There is a world of difference between her and his own spiritual realm soul, and there is no comparison at all. How can ants and elephants be compared? Cao Ying becomes slightly angry, and her emotion value increases by 60. Ji Yufei's straightforward words undoubtedly made Cao Ying feel despised. She calmly reached out her hand to pick up a strand of black hair that fell on her forehead, and the smile on her enchanting face made her even more charming. Mr. Ji Yufei, please teach me. Cao Ying continued shamelessly. The words fell without waiting for Ji Yufei to respond. The pair of pure white and delicate Qianshan jade hands quietly formed a handprint, and then suddenly condensed. As his hand seal formed, the spiritual strength surrounding his body suddenly condensed rapidly and transformed into a soul phoenix in the blink of an eye. The phoenix flapped its wings, and the space twisted rapidly. As the flapping speed increased, tiny black space cracks even spread faintly around it. As expected of a witch. I heard that her cultivation base and spiritual strength improved a lot after she came out of seclusion last time. Now this soul phoenix is really terrifying. When the people around saw the might of the soul phoenix, their faces changed and they all tried to avoid it. At this time, Cao Ying also showed a confident smile and waved her jade hand lightly, intending to control the soul phoenix to press down towards Ji Yufei. Disperse. Ji Yufei shouted softly and looked at the soul phoenix calmly. Immediately, an invisible soul storm was born, instantly crushing the sky phoenix. In just a blink of an eye, the soul phoenix was torn into pieces, turning into many faint fluorescent spots, and soon disappeared. This happened too quickly and too suddenly. The phoenix, which had seemed powerful at first, was completely unable to fight back against Ji Yufei. Moreover, Ji Yufei did not even raise his hand, he just uttered a word. Cao Ying is shocked. Emotion value increases by 100. A trickle of blood flowed from the corner of Cao Ying's mouth. Feeling the sudden soul storm just now, her eyes were full of shock. I didn't expect that he would actually reach that point. He's still so young, how on earth did he do it? Cao Ying has a yearning emotion, and the emotion value increases by 60. There was a hint of longing in Cao Ying's eyes. That realm is what she has been striving to achieve over the years. I was so presumptuous just now. The next moment, she wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, smiled and bowed to Ji Yufei. Thank you, Mr. Ji Yufei, for showing mercy. To be honest, she lost the battle with Ji Yufei too quickly, so quickly that she had no power to fight back and was easily crushed by Ji Yufei. However, failure is not entirely a bad thing, as it will help her future practice. You have great talent. If you can calm down, you will achieve great success in the future. Seeing Cao Ying's attitude of admitting her mistake, Ji Yufei nodded slightly and was not angry at her sudden attack. After saying that, he turned around without hesitation and continued shopping with Xiao Yixian and the others. Chapter 91. You can't escape from the palm of my hand. Cao Ying becomes curious and admires emotions, and the emotion value increases by 60. Looking at Ji Yufei's slowly leaving back, Cao Ying's eyes moved, and a strange light flashed in her narrow and charming eyes. She is proud and competitive by nature. What she likes most is not to be invincible, but to be able to meet some qualified opponents. Ji Yufei's appearance brought about a huge change in her mood. Ji Yufei, you can't escape from my grasp. After a moment, Cao Ying let out a soft snort from her nose, and she gently clenched her jade hands. An enchanting curve appeared on her cheek again, making her delicate little face, which was the size of a palm, even more attractive. At this moment, Xiao Yixian, who was holding Ji Yufei's arm, happened to turn around and look at Cao Ying. The two women looked at each other calmly, but there was a strong smell of gunpowder. Perhaps it was a woman's intuition that made Xiao Yixian feel a little threatened. She pulled Ji Yufei's arm with more force again. Ji Yufei's originally relaxed body was caught off guard by the pull and he almost staggered. Xiao Yixian becomes nervous, and his emotion value increases by 100. Silly Missy, what are you thinking about? Ji Yufei knew the emotions of the two women through the emotional value reminders, and couldn't help but reveal a bitter smile on his face. Before in Ji Yu domain, he devoted himself to Xun'er, but the ending was extremely bleak. Now that he has left Xun'er, he has clearly understood his own charm. The next morning, Ji Yufei sensed a presence approaching and got up and opened the door. Outside the door, an old man wearing the robe of a pill tower alchemist had been waiting for a long time. Friend Ji Yufei, the 3 guild leaders have agreed to your request. Now, please follow me to the pill tower. Wait a moment. Ji Yufei responded to the pill tower elder with a smile, then turned around and closed the door. At this time, Xiao Yixian woke up, rubbed his eyes in confusion, and asked in a hoarse voice. Who's coming? It's Pill Tower Elder. The 3 presidents of Pill Tower have agreed to my request. Hearing this, Xiao Yixian sobered up a little, with a hint of joy in his eyes. That's great. Ji Yufei smiled and stroked her messy hair, saying, however, it may take a long time to get to Pill Tower. After all, the 3,000 flames were no less powerful than the heavenly flames he had refined before, and its combat power already exceeded that of many low-level Do venerables. Yeah, I got it. Although Xiao Yixian was a little reluctant, he didn't ask any more questions. He nodded sensibly with a gentle look in his eyes. Ji Yufei felt as if his heart was soaked in warm water. Maybe I'll be back today. Ji Yufei smiled, slowly moved closer to Xiao Yixian's beautiful lips, causing Xiao Yixian's face to blush, and then he left leisurely. Next, Ji Yufei followed the elder to the Pill Tower. I am the Pill Tower Great Elder. When he arrived here, he was personally received by the Pill Tower Great Elder, whose cultivation base was stronger than the previous Elder Li, reaching 5-star Do Venerable. In the Pill Tower, many people looked curious when they saw the Great Elder personally receiving a strange young man. Cao Ying was also standing in the crowd at this moment. When she saw Ji Yufei coming, her eyes suddenly lit up. Cao Ying is surprised, and her emotion value increases by 60 inches. Mr. Ji Yufei, what a coincidence, we meet again. Thank you for your guidance yesterday. Ji Yufei just smiled politely, and Cao Ying seemed to be encouraged and started chatting with him, with a gleam in her eyes. Not far behind Cao Ying stood a young man. When the young man saw Cao Ying's enthusiastic attitude towards Ji Yufei, there was a hint of jealousy in his eyes. But before that, he had already heard about Ji Yufei's strength from some people. Due to Ji Yufei's strength, he did not dare to attack. Ji Yufei didn't care about these people's psychology, and his eyes didn't even waver for a moment. What he wanted here was just the 3,000 flames of fire. Next, Chu Ling took Ji Yufei into the main hall, where Zan Kongzi, Tian Lizi and Zan Yi were waiting for them. Friend Ji Yufei, although we agree to let you enter the star field, there are still considerable risks in taming this fire, so don't force it. Out of kindness, Zan Kongzi hesitated for a moment and still said one more sentence. Ji Yufei's eyes were determined and he nodded solemnly. Upon seeing this, Zan Kongzi sighed lightly, and then a fluctuating silver space gate suddenly appeared in the space. Young friend Ji Yufei, come with me. Chu Ling went in first, and Ji Yufei followed without hesitation. As the space fluctuated, two figures disappeared one after another under the gazes of three pairs of eyes. As soon as he entered the star field, Ji Yufei looked around unobtrusively. He felt a scorching heat coming towards him, and at the same time, the heavenly flame in his body suddenly became abnormal. This situation only occurs when encountering other heavenly flames. The so-called star field is a space forcibly torn out by the three giants of Pill Tower. This kind of space is naturally not as good as the strange place like Ji domain where Ji Yufei lives, and it looks quite desolate, with a faint hot mist all around. Faintly, some weak light penetrated into this space, making the light here seem a little cold. Chu Ling led Ji Yufei and flew quickly in the empty space. Nearly 10 minutes passed. Until in their sight, a strong and blazing light suddenly emerged in the distant void. The light was so strong, just like the blazing sun, making people's eyes feel a little painful. Here, be careful. Chu Ling suddenly stopped, turned his head and whispered. After saying this, Chu Ling slowed down and slowly floated forward, and Ji Yufei quickly followed. Gradually approaching the dazzling light, the object within the light finally appeared clearly in his sight. When he saw clearly what was inside the light, Ji Yufei's expression changed. Within the light, there is a gigantic dragon with no end in sight. The dragon's eyes were tightly closed, and its body was coiled and winding. A strange purple-black heavenly flame was lingering on its huge body. As the flames rose, the surrounding space seemed to be distorted. In the vast void, a giant dragon was perched, and purple-black flames continued to seep out of its body, burning tirelessly. This spectacular scene makes people feel shocked that it is difficult to conceal. Although Ji Yufei had seen it once when his soul was wandering, it was just a quick glance. Now that he was close to it in person, he could clearly feel how shocking this ancient wonder was. Standing in front of the giant dragon, his body seemed as small as an ant. Is this the 3000 raging flame? Ji Yufei murmured in a low voice, his eyes showing both heat and hesitation. This time, Ji Yufei was a little too hasty. The 3000 flames of flame might not be something he could subdue at his current level. Chapter 92 can't handle it. Then I'll have to ask for help. However, since Ji Yufei is here, he has to give it a try. Chu Ling noticed Ji Yufei's expression and shook his head slightly, not looking favorably upon him. There are countless strong people in the entire Pill Tower, and even the president cannot refine the 3000 flames of flame. Ji Yufei's hope is probably very slim. Friend Ji Yufei, you can separate a strand of spiritual strength and enter from here to see if you can influence the 3000 flames. Remember not to break the seal. The next moment, Chu Ling pointed at a special scale on the dragon's body and said, Reform. Hearing this, Ji Yufei suddenly felt resentful in his heart. No wonder no one in Pill Tower has refined the 3000 flames of fire for so many years. This thing has already developed intelligence like humans, how can it be influenced? There is no so-called true meaning of Buddhism in this world. The 3000 Yan Yanwo have been imprisoned in the star field for so many years and have never been able to gain freedom. They have long hated humans to the core. They will kill indiscriminately whenever they get the chance. If one wants to refine it, it is impossible to rely on the illusory influence. One must directly destroy its intelligence and consciousness, turn it back into a chaotic thing, and then suppress and refine its original fire. Okay. Thinking this in his mind, Ji Yufei temporarily stepped forward as he was told. His eyes swept across the giant dragon with an awe-inspiring aura and a body full of flames, and then he found the dragon scale that was as tall as him. There was indeed no flame above it. Taking a quick glance at the dragon's scales, Ji Yufei discovered that they were covered with black lines like spider silk. These black lines were entangled with each other, forming extremely strange-looking runes, and these runes were tightly attached to the dragon's scales, like a huge black net, completely wrapping up the 3000 raging flame. Because of these runes, the 3000 flames of fire had to be bound here. Ji Yufei understood that this was a seal set up by the Pill Tower giants. With the seal in place, the three flames of flame could never leave the star field. He moved forward again, and felt that the dragon scale was emitting a faint aura of deterrence. Look how fierce this guy is. With a tentative mentality, Ji Yufei stretched out his hand, without hesitation, and gently touched the special dragon scale. When I touched it with my palm, it was surprisingly not warm at all, but instead had a slight chill. But Ji Yufei had no time to wonder at this moment. He closed his eyes, and the spiritual strength at his brow carefully moved along his arm, and then along the dragon's scales, slowly invading. Bang! After Ji Yu Fei's spiritual strength invaded the dragon's scales, a subtle and low voice suddenly sounded. Immediately, Ji Yu Fei's soul seemed to break through a layer of something and appeared in a strange place of nothingness. This piece of nothingness was filled with purple-black flames, and in the center of the flames, Ji Yu Fei looked up and saw a mini version of a giant dragon. This little fire dragon looks a little miniature compared to the huge dragon in the star field, but its aura is even more terrifying. But at this moment, the little fire dragon was lying in a huddle with its eyes closed, as if it was sleeping. Seeing the little fire dragon with its eyes closed, Ji Yu Fei knew that this thing was the original fire of the 3,000 raging flame. Ji Yu Fei knew that the 3,000 flames of fire were not asleep. The moment he came in, it had noticed him. 3,000 flames, I know you want to escape. If you can submit to me, I can take you away from this place. Spiritual strength swept over Charmander, and Ji Yu Fei did not hide anything and directly stated his purpose. The next moment, the little fire dragon, which had kept its eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes. The dragon eyes, filled with purple-black flames and emitting a cold color, stared at Ji Yu Fei's soul. 3,000 flames of fire produce a mocking emotion. The emotion value increases by 30. Human, do you think I will believe your lies? What's the difference between me submitting to you and being dead? The fire dragon suddenly spoke in cold human language, and his voice was full of mockery. Even as powerful as it is, it has suffered many losses at the hands of humans. After being suppressed in the star field, groups of humans came in and tried to refine it. From then on, 3,000 flames of fire knew clearly that anyone who was a human wanted to obtain its original fire. But those people had such ugly faces and said nice things, saying they wanted to take it out and set it free. It was really ridiculous. The prerequisite for refining the original fire is to destroy its spiritual intelligence. In that case, only a body will remain. What is the difference between that and being dead? Even if intelligence can be regenerated later, it will have nothing to do with it. It seems you are not stupid. Ji Yu Fei was not surprised by the reaction of 3,000 flames of flame. This heavenly flame already possessed intelligence no different from that of humans. 3,000 flames of fire generate anger, emotion value increases by 30, get out of here. Anger burned in the cold eyes of the 3,000 flames of fire dragon, and he shouted angrily. Purple-black flames suddenly burst out from the fire dragon's body, and then swept towards Ji Yu Fei's soul. If Ji Yu Fei's real body entered, he might be able to fight back. After all, the heavenly flame in his body is no pushover. But this is only a wisp of spiritual strength, and naturally cannot withstand the attack of 3,000 flames of fire. The flame burned on the soul, and Ji Yu Fei's figure was submerged in the raging purple-black fire. Within the star field, Ji Yu Fei's palm touched the dragon's scale, his eyes suddenly opened, and there was a hint of anger on his face. He moved away quickly enough to avoid being burned by the flames. Seeing this scene, Chu Ling Great Elder immediately understood that Ji Yu Fei had failed. Friend Ji Yu Fei, these 3,000 flames have been in Pill Tower for countless years, and many people have tried to influence them. It is normal to fail. It seems that you are not destined to be with these 3,000 flames. Hearing Chu Ling's words, Ji Yu Fei frowned. Elder Chu Ling, the 3,000 flames of flame have already acquired intelligence that is no different from that of humans. The idea of fate is just empty talk. Ji Yu Fei was not afraid of offending anyone and directly refuted Chu Ling's remarks. If people really follow Pill Tower's ridiculous, falsely benevolent approach and try to persuade it, then no one will ever be able to tame the 3,000 flames of fire. To deal with this kind of intelligent creature that hates humans so much, the most brutal methods are still needed. Then what advice does Master Ji Yu Fei have? Can you suppress it directly? Hills produce unhappy emotions. Emotional value increases by 30. Hearing Ji Yu Fei deny Pill Tower's implementation methods over the years, Chu Ling said with a straight face. There was obvious displeasure on his face, but Chu Ling also knew that Ji Yu Fei's identity was probably extraordinary, so he didn't go too far at this moment and his voice was tactful. Chu Ling believed that although Ji Yu Fei was gifted, he was too young after all and it was impossible for him to have the strength to forcibly suppress the 3,000 flames of flame. Directly suppress. Hearing this, Ji Yu Fei was silent for a moment and did not respond to Chu Ling. At this time, Ji Yufei had some thoughts in his mind. During this training, he had never asked for help from his clan. Since you can't beat him, why not find a helper? Although I can't suppress it, if the elders in my clan come to help, suppressing the mere 3,000 flaming flames will be easy. Ji Yufei made a decision, and as soon as he finished speaking, he crushed a space jade slip. As the space jade slip shattered, an extremely powerful space force suddenly burst out, and immediately twisted a crack in the nearby space. Just as the crack was taking shape, a white figure slowly walked out of the crack. Chapter 93. Having a background is awesome. Hills generate anger. Emotion value increases by 20 inches. Friend Ji Yufei, I have already made an exception for you to enter the star field and subdue the 3,000 flames of flame. You actually plan to bring other people in. It's simply too. Seeing Ji Yufei tearing open the space jade slip, Shu Ling on the side suddenly became angry. His expression changed slightly and he started to scold. Although Ji Yufei has a strong background, his behavior really offended Pill Tower. However, before Shu Ling could finish his harsh words, he froze in place. Because, as the old man in white robe walked out of the space crack, an aura that was so terrifying that it was indescribable appeared in the star field. Shu Ling opened his mouth wide and swallowed back all the words he was about to say. There was only shock and dullness in his eyes. He stared at the ordinary-looking old man who came out of the space crack. A trace of fear flashed in his eyes, and he took a step back. Who is this person? His aura is so terrifying that even the three giants cannot match him. The next moment, there was a slight fluctuation in the void space, and then another old figure slowly emerged. The person who came was Zon Kongzi, the leader of the three giants of Pill Tower. He had just noticed the abnormal spatial fluctuations in the star field, so he had no time to greet others. He summoned the silver gate again and entered the star field. When Shu Ling saw Zon Kongzi coming, his face relaxed and he was about to speak, but Zon Kongzi hurriedly waved his hand with a serious expression, signaling him to stop. This terrifying aura, could it be that this senior realm? As soon as he saw the old man in white robe, Zon Kongzi felt his heart beating violently for a moment, and there was also a hint of strong fear in his eyes. Haha, Ji Yufei, you finally remembered the old guy. Did you run into any trouble this time? The old man who walked out of the crack had a serious expression on his face, but his aura was rising and a faint light flashed on his fingertips. He rushed over in a hurry, thinking that Ji Yufei summoned him this time because he was in big trouble. When he saw that Ji Yufei was safe and sound, he finally let go of his worry and a kind smile appeared on his face. Grandpa Gushong, if it's not troublesome, can't I see your old family? Ji Yufei said with a smile, his tone quite casual and intimate. The person he invited this time was an elder of his grandfather Ji Yu Lai's generation in the clan. He had watched Ji Yufei grow up since he was a child and had a very good relationship with him. There are more than a dozen such space jade slips in Ji Yufei's storage ring. Every space jade slip can, at the very least, mobilize a pseudo-saint. These space jade slips were voluntarily stuffed into his hands by the strong men in his clan, including his grandfather and uncles. Ji Yufei refused several times before finally taking less. It can be said that Ji Yufei is the most beloved person in Ji Yu clan. He originally wanted to come out for some experience, but if he used those space jade slips too much, he was afraid that he would become dependent on them, which would not be of much help in improving his strength. Ji Yufei will only use this space jade slip when he really needs it. Now, it was the first time that he used the space jade slip to ask for help from the strong men in the clan. The ancient bear who came this time, his cultivation base directly reached 3-star Do Saint, completely crushing the strongest person present, Zon Kongzi. Even in the secret Little Pill Tower, it is difficult to find someone who can compete with him. Junior Zon Kongzi, nice to meet you, senior. Zon Kongzi looked at the old man and the young man who were chatting and laughing over there, and his expression was slightly solemn. The ancient bear's aura is too strong. In Zon Kongzi's perception, he even surpassed the Little Pill Tower Great Elder. At this moment, Zon Kongzi did not dare to be negligent. He walked forward and greeted him respectfully. Hearing this, Ji Yu Shang's gaze stayed on Zon Kongzi for a moment and nodded slightly. At this moment, Ji Yufei has already invited help, so he must take away the 3,000 flames of flame today to avoid any further trouble. However, given Ji Yufei's personality, he obviously would not snatch the heavenly flame from the pill tower. Senior Xuankongzi, these 3,000 flames are a nuisance to pill tower. How about letting me take them away today? Ji Yufei bowed very politely. On the side, Ji Yushang listened to Ji Yufei's words and nodded in agreement. Although in his opinion, this heavenly flame was indeed not a particularly important treasure. However, Ji Yufei has always been opinionated. Since he is unwilling to let go, it means that heavenly flame is very consistent with his culture. Since Ji Yufei has taken a fancy to this heavenly flame, you should hand it over. If you need any compensation, just tell me. Hearing this, Zhang Kongzi had a strange expression on his face and glanced at Ji Yufei inconspicuously. It turns out that the reason this kid acted so confident before was not because he was sure of himself, but because he was sure of the people he asked for help. Now, from the moment Zhang Kongzi saw Ji Yushang, he was able to confirm that Ji Yufei and the other two were from the ancient clan, the Ji Yu clan. In Zhang Kongzi's impression, those ancient races seemed to be particularly arrogant. They almost all disdained to get involved in the struggle between forces in Zhongzhou. They also disdained some external resources. Even 3,000 flaming flames are nothing to such an ancient clan. The fact that Ji Yushang and Ji Yufei were so polite was already a face giving to Pill Tower. Since the senior has already spoken, then let's do this. There is no need for compensation. Zhang Kongzi hesitated for a moment and agreed. Then, he quickly formed seals with his hands. The strange runes on the black dragon's body gradually faded, and the black lines continued to disappear. The moment the seal was broken, 3,000 flames of flame suddenly opened his eyes, roared, and retreated violently, trying to escape from the star field. If you dare to run again, I'll slap you to death. Seeing this, Ji Yushang let out a low growl, with endless pressure in his voice. Although the 3,000 raging flame has been able to compete with the three giants of Pill Tower for so many years, it does not mean that it really has the strength to fight against the three giants. After all, the three giants always wanted to seal it, but sealing and killing are two different things. If they chose to kill it, I am afraid that the 3,000 flames would have dissipated completely long ago. Although the 3,000 raging flame is known as the immortal fire, if the three giants of Pill Tower really want to deal with it, it is not without solutions, but they just don't want to really go that far. Each type of heavenly flame is an extremely rare item for alchemists. Moreover, these heavenly flames took tens of thousands of years to form. If they were destroyed at will, it would be a waste of natural resources. But Ancient Bear was different. If the 3,000 flames of flame did not obey, he would destroy it with thunder. At this moment, under the shock of Ancient Bear's aura, the intelligent 3,000 flames of flame really stopped fleeing and stayed where they were unwillingly. You beast, you know what's best for you. The Ancient Bear made a gesture with his hand, and a force enveloped the 3,000 flames of fire, and then compressed his huge body forcibly. Thank you, Grandpa Gushang. Seeing this, a smile appeared on Ji Yufei's face. With a big background, it's different. Hills produce speechless and envious emotions, and the emotion value increases by 20. Chu Ling watched as the Ancient Bear took away the 3,000 flaming flames, and couldn't help but complain in his heart. Chapter 94. I hope the new granddaughter-in-law is more sensible than Xun'er. The originally extremely ferocious 3,000 flames of fire became like a ball of soft cotton in the hands of the Ancient Bear, without any power to resist. Thank you, Senior Zhang Kongzi, for your generous gift. After Ji Yushang took away the 3,000 flames of flame, Ji Yufei turned around with a smile on his face and thanked Zhang Kongzi, who was standing beside him. Zhang Kongzi becomes speechless and embarrassed, and his emotion value increases by 40. Ji Yufei's words made Zhang Kongzi's mouth twitch, and his eyes couldn't help but look a little helpless. Where is his generosity? This is clearly robbery. Facing a 3-star docent expert, Zhang Kongzi dared not say a word of no. Of course, Zhang Kongzi did not show any of these complaints. After all, it is you, little friend Ji Yufei, who have a destiny with these 3,000 flames. Zhang Kongzi nodded at Ji Yufei in a casual manner. Now that things had come to this, the more frank he was in his words, the greater the good relationship he would have with the Ji Yu clan. Yes, it is indeed fate. Ji Yufei also smiled in agreement. This guy changes his tone so quickly. The great elder Chu Ling on the side had a strange look on his face, because he had heard Ji Yufei say before that fate was nonsense. Ji Yufei, when are you planning on returning to Ji Yu clan? Ancient Bear becomes worried. Emotional value increases by 10. Ji Yu Shang glanced at the 3,000 flames of fire, then held it tightly in one hand without any concern, and turned to ask Ji Yufei. He asked this question simply because he was worried about Ji Yufei's safety. Because Ji Yu Shang had heard before that there were strong men from the Han clan appearing in the place where Ji Yufei was training. Back then, in the sky outside the Jia Ma Empire, the brief passage of the Han clan strongman was noticed by the Ji Yu clan elder who followed Ji Yufei. Although the movements of the Han clan strongman and Ji Yufei did not overlap, there were traces of the Han clan in many places where Ji Yufei had trained. Ji Yufei is the person with the purest bloodline in Ji Yu clan in thousands of years. He is of great significance to Ji Yu clan and must not be lost. If the Han clan finds him wandering around, he might do something cruel. The Han clan has been recuperating for nearly 1,000 years, but recently, it seems that they have started some big actions again, and we have to be on guard. Therefore, Ji Yu Shang asked this question out of concern for Ji Yufei's safety. He was not urging Ji Yufei, but just wanted to give some advice. Even though Ji Yufei possessed an uncanny talent and had reached the Do Venerable realm at the age of 17, he would still be in trouble if he ran into the older generation of strong men from the Han clan. Only by staying in Ji Yu domain can we be safe. Grandpa Ji Yu Shang, I originally wanted to take the 3,000 flames and go back, but now I'm afraid I have to wait for a while. Hearing Ji Yu Shang's concerned words, Ji Yufei replied with a smile. Now, he is no longer alone. There are many more people around him. If he wants to go back, Ji Yufei must bring Xiao Yixian, Qing Lin and others with him. Xiao Yixian, he wanted to take her home, hoping that he and his lover could get recognition and blessings from the elders. Given Ji Yufei's status, the elders in the clan would certainly have high expectations for the wife he chooses. He was reluctant to go back, not only because he wanted to gain experience, but also because he was worried that if Xiao Yixian went back with him now, he would suffer inexplicable grievances later. In Ji Yu clan, the strong are respected. Although Xiao Yixian has already started culturing and has climbed up the ranks quickly with his poisonous body realm, he is still no match for the younger generation of Ji Yu clan who have been culturing steadily for more than a decade. If he cannot convince the public, even if the elders of Ji Yu clan do not speak up, other people or things will appear to make Xiao Yixian leave him. Ji Yufei's expression did not restrain, and his eyes unconsciously fell somewhere outside the star field. Boy, are you worried that the clan won't accept my new granddaughter-in-law? Looking at Ji Yufei's changing expression, Ji Yu Shang suddenly laughed out loud and asked. This time, Ji Yufei finally confirmed one thing. Even Grandpa Ji Yu Shang, the elder who had been guarding the ancestral hall for a long time, knew so much about him and Xiao Yixian, which meant that he had the Ji Yu clan elders protecting him all the way. Most of the things I have experienced should be known to people in the clan. Then they probably knew who Xiao Yixian was. Ji Yufei was unusually nervous, and his eyes wandered for a moment and fell on Ji Yu Shang. He didn't know what the attitude of Grandpa Ji Yu Shang, who had loved him since he was a child, would be. He had never cultivated his poisonous body before, but he reached doling level in just 1 year. This kind of talent is actually not bad. Ji Yu Shang continued to add, and Ji Yufei heard it clearly. There was no hint of dissatisfaction with Xiao Yixian in his voice. Just bring her back. It doesn't matter what other members of the clan think. As long as you like it. Ji Yu Shang took a step forward and patted Ji Yufei's shoulder with a smile. His words revealed a sense of dominance and doting on Ji Yufei. After all, she is a child that he has watched grow up. Even though the elders in the clan say every day that Ji Yufei should find a wife who is of equal status, with equal talent and family background, so that she can be a good helper to him. But Ji Yu Shang never thought so. He couldn't stand the other elders' self-righteous conceit. Although they were truly doing this for Ji Yufei's own good, they never asked him what he wanted. Therefore, Ji Yufei had a lover again, and Ji Yu Shang was very happy for him. He didn't care about his lover's ability, appearance, or family background. As long as Ji Yufei liked her, it was enough. If those old guys dared to object, he would be the first to stand up and support Ji Yufei. Moreover, Ji Yushang knew that since Ji Yufei already had a new lover, it meant that he had moved on from the Xun'er incident. I hope this new granddaughter-in-law won't break Ji Yufei's heart like Xun'er's willful Missy. Ji Yushang sighed inwardly. Grandpa Gushang, you are still sensible. Hearing what Ji Yushang said, Ji Yufei replied with a smile, his eyes full of gratitude. There are not many elders who are this sensible. Next, Ji Yufei's gaze fell on the docile 3,000 flames in Ji Yushang's hand. He paused for a moment and spoke. Please Grandpa Gushang take these 3,000 flames back to the clan for safekeeping. When I have the strength to refine them, I will go back and deal with them. In the future, I will make sure that I can use them for my own benefit. Ji Yufei spoke seriously. With his current strength, refining the 3,000 flames of flame was still too dangerous and he did not want to take the risk. Ancient Bear has admiration emotion. Emotion value increases by 10 inches. Haha. Ji Yufei, I have to say that your talent for controlling fire is even better than those people from Yan clan. Old man, I have never heard of anyone being able to refine 3 heavenly flames at the same time. Ji Yushang praised with a smile on his face. In Ji Yushang's impression, Yan clan patriarch Yan Jin had only refined 2 heavenly flames. Ji Yufei was already planning to fuse the 4th heavenly flame. Even the knowledgeable Ji Yushang was amazed by this method. Chapter 95 Xiao Yan. Teacher, do you think I still have a chance? Ji Yufei, the old man has gone back first. You should also bring your new wife back to the clan as soon as possible. Also, be sure to pay attention to safety. Ji Yushang smiled and patted Ji Yufei's shoulder, then waved his hand lightly in the air, and a space crack appeared beside him. Don't worry, I'll be careful and go back soon. Looking at Ji Yushang stepping into the space crack, Ji Yufei responded easily. Soon, the space crack healed quietly, as if nothing had happened. Friend Ji Yufei, since the 3,000 flames of flame have been taken away, let's get out. Now when Zhang Kongzi spoke to Ji Yufei, he was more polite than before. Ji Yufei nodded, then followed Zhang Kongzi and Chu Ling out of the star field. The star field when I left seemed to have changed from when I first came in. The sky was full of twinkling stars, and it seemed that with the disappearance of the 3,000 flames, this star field was truly emitting a dazzling light. Outside the Pill Tower, in the huge square, a crowd of people gathered at this moment, most of whom were wearing alchemist robes. Because they heard that someone was trying to subdue the 3,000 flames of flame, many people gathered here, wanting to know the result. After a while, the silver space gate in the sky above Pill Tower suddenly fluctuated. Immediately. Afterwards, Zhang Kongzi, Chu Ling and Ji Yufei walked out of the gate one after another. He came out so soon, it seems he failed. I've said long ago that this kid thinks too highly of himself. Only I, Song Qing, can truly subdue the 3,000 flames. In the crowd, the young man who was jealous of Cao Ying and Ji Yufei's chat before now spoke to the person next to him in a gloating manner. That's right, only you, brother Song Qing, can subdue those 3,000 flaming flames. The man next to him said flatteringly. At this time, some people who were not clear about the situation in the star field thought that Ji Yufei had failed. After all, Ji Yufei had only been in the star field for a short time. In their opinion, it was impossible for anyone to refine the ferocious 3,000 flames of flame in such a short time. Master Ji Yufei, although you failed this time, I believe that within a few years, you will be able to successfully subdue it. Unlike Song Qing's gloating look, Cao Ying walked up to Ji Yufei and said some sincere words of encouragement to him. Humph, what's so good about him? Isn't it just that he entered the spiritual realm earlier? I will be able to enter that realm sooner or later. Seeing the woman he secretly loved being so attentive to Ji Yufei, Song Qing clenched his fists and his face became a little ferocious in an instant. However, what Zhang Kongzi said next made everyone's face change. Zhang Kongzi cleared his throat with a solemn look on his face. He walked in front of the crowd, paused for a moment, and spoke loudly. Everyone, the 3,000 Yanyanwo in the star field have been taken away. From now on, the reward for the winner of the pill competition will no longer include the item of taming the 3,000 Yanyanwo. Zhang Kongzi did not clearly state the ending of the 3,000 flames of flame, because ancient races like these did not want their stories to be spread by too many people. Taken away. Cao Ying looked at Ji Yufei beside her in surprise, with incredible admiration in her beautiful eyes. Because he had no idea what happened in the star field, Cao Ying took it for granted that it was Ji Yufei who subdued and refined the 3,000 flames of flame. How is this possible? Not far away, Song Qing, who was originally gloating, suddenly turned dark, as ugly as if he had eaten shit. Looking at the crowd that was becoming chaotic, Ji Yufei did not stay for long. He politely bowed to Zhang Kongzi, then ignored Cao Ying who wanted to come over to congratulate him, and left. Cao Ying feels embarrassed and slightly disappointed, and her emotion value increases by 60 inches. Ji Yufei. Cao Ying's hand hovered in the air, her mouth slightly open, and her smile gradually froze. She stared at Ji Yufei's back in a daze, not understanding why she had such feelings, and subconsciously didn't want Ji Yufei to leave. No matter what, as long as you are not married, I still have a chance. After a moment, Cao Ying's eyes gradually became firm again. As for Ji Yufei, after leaving the pill tower, he headed straight towards the outside world. On the way, he still packed some desserts for Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin Missy. Brother Ji Yufei, you're back so soon. Qing Lin was very surprised to see Ji Yufei coming back, because when he went out in the morning, he had told her that it might take a long time for him to come back. Something unexpected happened, so I came back early. Where's Xiao Yixian? Hasn't she gotten up yet? As Ji Yufei spoke, he pushed open Xiao Yixian's door and walked in. There was poisonous fog filling the room. In the middle of the room, there was a bathtub in which Xiao Yixian was soaking. At this moment, Xiao Yixian's expression was slightly painful, with beads of sweat on his face. Looking at Xiao Yixian's condition, it was obvious that he had used too much poison. Even with the poison pills that absorbed and converted the toxin energy, he was still a little uncomfortable. Brother Ji Yufei, wait a moment, I'll be ready soon. Xiao Yixian was obviously a little surprised that Ji Yufei came back early. Don't worry, slowly transform the toxin first. Ji Yufei waved his hand to signal Xiao Yixian to continue, and then went straight to the bathtub. He knew that Xiao Yixian was now eager to improve his cultivation base. That's why they take the risk of injecting a large amount of poison at one time, so that it cannot be converted in time. Northwest Continent, Tajer Desert. Teacher, from this point of view, Heavenly Flame is likely to have been taken away by the guy riding the 6th level magic beast Amethyst Winged Lion King. Xiao Yan hid behind a sand dune, communicating with the old soul of traditional Chinese medicine in the storage ring. At this time, he had already penetrated deep into the territory of the Snake People and found out some things that had happened in the holy city of the Snake People before. Moreover, Xiao Yan had previously passed by Shimo City where his eldest and second brothers lived, and discovered the passage leading to the underground magma lake. That should be it. The person who took away the heavenly flame might be the Ji Yufei mentioned by Missy. Although you have never seen him, you have indirectly had many dealings with him. Yao Lao nodded. What should I do? The heavenly flame here is gone. I can't just go and snatch it from him, right? Xiao Yan said helplessly. That's no different from seeking death. He had heard from the Jiyu clan elder himself that Ji Yufei was a Do venerable warrior. Don't worry. Although the heavenly flame here is gone, the teacher still knows a place where the heavenly flame is hidden. That heavenly flame will be of great help to your cultivation. Seeing Xiao Yan feeling somewhat discouraged because of the heavenly flame being taken away, Yao Lao encouraged him. His plan was naturally to take possession of the 14th ranked Fallen Heart Flame. Where are you going? Jianan Academy. Isn't that the place where I took a year off? Now it's been more than 2 years, I don't know if the college will still accept me. Hearing the location Yao Lao mentioned, Xiao Yan couldn't help feeling a little guilty. Fine, with your progress in cultivation base, Jianan Academy shouldn't reject you. Yao Lao said confidently. When the time is right, I will take you to get the heavenly flame. Chapter 96 Xun'er. How long has it been since then, and he already has a new love. Ji Domain. Ancient Sacred Mountains. A huge warship slowly stopped above the endless mountains. On the bow stood a girl in green. She was wearing a light green dress, and her 3,000 black hair was casually tied up, spreading over her slender waist and finally vertically to her delicate buttocks. A gentle breeze blew in, her long black hair fluttered in the wind, she looked otherworldly and otherworldly. Her beautiful face was rare in the world, and her moving eyes were ethereal, like the deepest starry sky. This girl was Xun'er, who was brought back by Ji Nane. Even before she got off the boat, she had already attracted a lot of attention from everyone below. It's Xun'er coming back. Xun'er. She is still so beautiful. Xun'er. She is still just a Do King cultivation base. After going out to the GU domain for training, she has made no progress at all. Xun'er bloodline is extraordinary. I was too lazy to play before. If I focus on cultivation in the future, my achievements will definitely surpass yours. Humph. I don't believe it. Even though her bloodline is good, my bloodline is not weak either. Among the younger generation of GU clan, most of the women were sarcastic towards Xun'er. Because Gu Fei is the collective crush of the Gu clan girls, and Xun'er not only took Gu Fei away before, but also betrayed Gu Fei in the end. Many men also frowned, but perhaps because of her identity as the daughter of Xun'er patriarch and her extraordinary beauty, there were still a large number of people defending her. Interestingly, those who defended Xun'er did not receive her favorable response. After Xun'er came down, he walked straight towards his own courtyard on the mountain. Xun'er, did you run into brother Gu Fei when you left Gu domain this time? In the crowd, Gu Yunyu followed Xun'er to the foot of the mountain and asked. This seems to have nothing to do with you, right? Seeing Gu Yunyu, Xun'er, who was already in a bad mood, spoke with a hint of hostility. You are jealous. I'm jealous, just because of you. Xun'er raised his head confidently. Don't you know? I heard from the elder sent by the tribe to protect brother Gu Fei that brother Gu Fei brought a young woman with him during his training trip. They spent every day together. Gu Yunyu said slowly that although she was not in a good mood about this matter, she would be very happy if she could anger Xun'er now. Gu Fei lives with a young woman day and night. Upon hearing this news, Xun'er's heart began to beat faster for some reason. Next, Gu Yunyu seemed to be gloating as she told Xun'er everything she knew about Xiao Yixian and Gu Fei. How so? It's only been a year since he and I broke up, and he already has a new lover. How could he do that? Xun'er felt inexplicably uncomfortable, even a little angry, and his eyes were red. Hey, Xun'er, what qualifications do you have to comment on brother Gu Fei? Seeing Xun'er's reaction, Gu Yunyu showed a cold smile on her pretty face. Back then, before you divorced brother Gu Fei, you did something unchaste. Who are you saying is not a faithful wife? Hearing Yunyu's harsh words, Xun'er's eyes were filled with anger. Why? You hit a sore spot and want to attack me, do you have the strength to do so? Gu Yunyu stood there calmly, meeting Xun'er's fiery gaze. Her cultivation base, even if it was only 3-star Do Sovereign, was not something Xun'er could defeat right now. Don't be so proud. Give me 2 years and I will make you understand that it was a wrong decision to provoke me today. Xun'er clenched her fists and suppressed the anger in her heart. She also realized that the progress of her cultivation had been delayed for too long. If she continues like this, the gap between her and Gu Fei will become wider and wider, and by then, she might really become a laughing stock. The next moment, she changed direction and walked towards a hall deep in the mountains. The cultivation resources within Gu clan are far beyond the reach of the outside world. Xun'er plans to go to his father Gu Yuan to get some resources and prepare for the next stage of the Emperor's altar baptism. Ancient races like this, in addition to martial arts, Do technique, and alchemy pill, also have some power inheritance left by their ancestors. When the Gu clan ancestors were about to die, they would choose to store their power in the imperial altar. The younger generations in the clan could enter the imperial altar and directly inherit some of the power of their ancestors. The strength of this inheritance varies from person to person. Normally, the purer the bloodline, the higher the benefits gained from the emperor's altar baptism. Half an hour later, Xun'er stopped in front of an ancient palace. Gu Fei, after you broke up with me, you found an ordinary woman like that. Do you think she can be recognized by the clan? Xun'er murmured in his heart, and then slowly stepped into the ancient hall. In Chengdan City, Gu Fei and Xiao Yixian were in the inn room. Brother Gu Fei, I finally broke through to Do King. I can fly now. Xiao Yixian stood up from the bathtub soaked in venom, and then a pair of purple Do Chi wings stretched out from her back. Do Chi wings vibrated gently, slowly bringing her to the middle of the room. Very good. You have broken through Do King in less than 2 months of seclusion. I think you will be able to reach Do Ancestor Realm in less than 2 years. Seeing Xiao Yixian's excitement, Ji Yufei also had a happy smile on his face. During this period, Ji Yufei and Xiao Yixian stayed in Shungdan City. The city of Sandan is the center of the continent, and its resource storage far exceeds that of other cities in the continent. In addition to top-level medicinal materials, there are also some powerful poisons that are unavailable in ordinary places. Ji Yufei carefully selected many poisons, and gave Xiao Yixian an alchemy pill that could increase the speed of cultivation. Naturally, her cultivation base improved by leaps and bounds. 2 years to Do Ancestor, isn't that too fast? Can I do it? Hearing Ji Yufei's encouragement, Xiao Yixian was a little unconfident. After all, the higher the cultivation base, the harder it is to reach, and there is a huge gap between Do King and Do Ancestor. You have to have confidence in yourself. Now that your poisonous body has no hidden dangers, the 2 years I mentioned is actually very conservative. Ji Yufei smiled and shook his head. In the original novel, Xiao Yixian struggled alone in the Azumo Empire. In just 3 or 4 years, he grew from a cultivation novice to a 3-star Do Ancestor. His cultivation talent was beyond the reach of even ordinary geniuses from ancient races. Really? Seeing that Ji Yufei was so confident in her, Xiao Yixian's smile became even wider. She excitedly came to Ji Yufei and leaned her head on Ji Yufei's broad chest. Then how did Missy escape so quickly? At a certain moment, in the room, Ji Yufei was hugging Xiao Yixian tightly, and the expression on his face suddenly became strange. Chapter 97 Ziyan. Brother Ji Yufei, I want one too. On the balcony on the 2nd floor of the inn, Xing Lin and Venerable Tian Huo, an old man and a young man, were sitting at the table. Little Missy seriously asked Venerable Tian Huo some questions about cultivation, while the Lion King stood guard at the stairs like a bodyguard. Mr. Yao, according to what you said, if you hadn't encountered those fire lizardmen back then, is it possible that you would have become the legendary Do Saint now? Listening to Venerable Tian Huo talking about his past, Xing Lin couldn't help but ask curiously. That should be possible. Hearing Xing Lin's question, Venerable Tian Huo hesitated for a moment, then nodded confidently. It was because of his good talent and the rapid increase in his cultivation base that he thought he could go anywhere in the world, so he continued to go deep into the magma sea and finally dared to take the risk to try to refine 2 heavenly flames. That's such a pity. Xing Lin sighed subconsciously, feeling sorry for what happened to Venerable Tian Huo. What's so regrettable? Maybe this is just a kind of fate. Just look at it positively. At least, I am still alive and well now. Venerable Tian Huo smiled and shook his head. He existed for quite a long time. All his friends and relatives from those days are long gone, so he has no other worries when following Ji Yufei and his group. At a certain moment, the Lion King who was sitting next to the stairs not far from the 2 of them suddenly stood up. Hey, Lion King, Xing Lin, and Old Man Yao, long time no see. A very childish voice was heard. Hearing the sound, Venerable Tian Huo and Xing Lin subconsciously looked over there. In the sight of Lion King, Xing Lin and the other 2, a little girl in purple was sitting on the handrail of the stairs and reaching out to greet them. Seeing the astonishment on the faces of the Lion King and the other 2, she chuckled and made a face at them. Her charming look was very adorable. Sister Ziyan, I miss you so much. After being surprised, Xing Lin ran over happily with excitement on his face. This title may seem surprising to others, after all, Xing Lin is half a head taller than Ziyan. Now that this little guy is here, things will be lively again. Venerable Tian Huo stroked his beard and said with a smile. At the same time, Ji Yufei and Xiao Yixian also walked out of the room and looked over here. Ji Yufei glanced at Ziyan. She looked as cute as ever, as delicate and graceful as a piece of jade. Why don't you stay in the clan? Ji Yufei walked up and touched Ziyan's head, then asked with a smile. I escaped. Hee. I heard from brother Ji Yufei that you would come to Shungdan City, so I ran here. I thought it would be troublesome to find you, but I didn't expect that I would know you lived here just by asking. Ziyan smiled like a little fox, her eyes narrowed into crescents. I'm so pitiful. After I go back, there will be no more delicious pills. And every day I have to be fed some disgusting and awful food by those abominable guys. Next, Ziyan grabbed Ji Yufei's sleeve to complain, and Dada Xueling's eyes immediately became watery. Her life during this period was so miserable in her opinion. She felt that compared to her previous life with Ji Yufei, it was simply hell. So, as soon as she had the chance, she quickly found an opportunity to slip away from ancient Dragon Island. Sister Ziyan, you are so miserable. It seems that your people don't treat you well either. Qing Lin stands up for Ziyan. Yeah, they're so bad. Ziyan nodded vigorously. It seemed that she hated the way her people treated her. However, if her tribesmen were to find out, they would probably be so angry that they would vomit blood. Ji Yufei shook his head helplessly. He knew Ziyan's personality. Everything would be magnified many times in her mouth. Therefore, her words were not credible. What the ancient dragon clan gave her should be some tonic elixir. At least, this girl is now quite energetic. Ziyan, what are your plans next? Xiao Yixian asked. Hee. Next, of course, I'll follow you, Xiao Yixian elder sister. Hearing this, Ziyan couldn't help but grin, and then spoke very seriously. Hey, Xiao Yixian elder sister, when will you break through to Do King? Suddenly, Ziyan looked surprised as if he had discovered something incredible. I just broke through. This is too fast. I see, it must be during this period that brother Ji Yufei gave Xiao Yixian elder sister a lot of tonics. Ziyan turned his gaze to Ji Yufei, stretched out his hands, and said eagerly, Brother Ji Yufei, I want one too. No. Hearing this, Ji Yufei shook his head and slapped away Ziyan's outstretched hands. You eat elixir every day, but you don't digest it. Be careful that it explodes one day. You will be very uncomfortable then. After being lectured by Ji Yufei, Ziyan looked a little aggrieved and pouted. Sister Ziyan, don't be unhappy. I have some alchemy pills here. Do you want to take them? Seeing Ziyan like this, Qing Lin came over, pulled Ziyan's hand, and stuffed a handful of alchemy pills into her palm. Wow, Qing Lin, you are still good to me. The aggrieved expression on Ziyan's face disappeared instantly. She smiled and praised Qing Lin, then put an alchemy pill in her mouth and started chewing. Most of these alchemy pills are TIER4, used to assist cultivation. The alchemy pill is so powerful that Qing Lin can only take one pill every 5 days. But Ziyan ate them one by one like eating candy beans. Seeing this scene, Ji Yufei and Xiao Yixian looked at each other and shook their heads helplessly. Sister Ziyan, eat slowly. Qing Lin was stunned watching from the side. Fortunately, Ziyan has an extraordinary physique. If an ordinary person did this, his stomach would probably burst. In the next few days, with the arrival of Ziyan, Ji Yufei's small group became much more lively than before. One day, Ziyan came to Ji Yufei's room again and asked Ji Yufei to give her pills. Ziyan, if you want to eat more alchemy pills, I have a task for you. Ji Yufei made a request. What mission? Hearing this, Ziyan felt a little guilty. Don't be afraid, this is not difficult for you. Ji Yufei put his hand on Ziyan's thin shoulder and said with a smile, there is a dilapidated space in Pill Tower that has not been maintained for a long time. I need you to take me in there. Just entering a dilapidated space. That's easy, leave it to me. Hearing this, Ziyan immediately patted his chest, showing great confidence. She has done this kind of thing many times before. Before, in the inner courtyard, those medicinal herb warehouses were all sealed with space seals, but she often sneaked in without anyone noticing and stole the food. Those space seals were useless to her. Pill Realm is a space created by a powerful Do Saint in Pill Tower a long time ago. But later on, due to some reasons, Pill Realm gradually fell into ruin. However, Pill Realm was definitely a treasure land that countless alchemists dreamed of, as it contained countless natural treasures and many rare medicinal materials that were hard to find in the outside world. Of course, with the resources Ji Yufei has, he is not short of those precious medicinal materials. What he had his eyes on was the Earth Core Jade Mother in the Pill Realm. To be more precise, it was the Earth Core Soul Essence nurtured in the Earth Core Jade Mother. Just to clarify, this book is more of a daily life type, and it won't be like the usual BTTH world fan fiction where Heavenly Flame is refined and can be written for several chapters if not necessary. That kind of plot is usually just briefly mentioned. After all, the process of writing that kind of plot is mostly done by copying words from the original novel. Chapter 98. No need to steal, someone will honor you. This is a desolate plain, and the vast land is all yellowish in color. Occasionally there will be some green shade, releasing a little bit of vitality and vigor. On this plain, some small magical beasts would occasionally burst out, raising a wisp of yellow smoke, and then disappear in the distance. The silence of the desolate plain lasted for a while, and suddenly the empty space began to wriggle. Immediately afterwards, two figures, one tall and one short, flashed out from the space. The two figures that emerged from the space were naturally Ji Yufei and Zi Yan. Is this the pill realm? Ji Yufei's body was suspended in the air. He glanced around and just happened to see the outlines of some mountains at the end of the plain. He discovered that the energy here was much richer than that outside, but it was filled with a violent factor that was not conducive to human absorption. Next to Ji Yufei, Zi Yan was looking around with curiosity. Zi Yan, it's up to you to perform from now on. Ji Yufei winked at Zi Yan. Okay. Zi Yan smiled, then closed her eyes and began to sense. Her ability to sense some spiritual objects in heaven and earth was far beyond that of ordinary people. This is also the most important reason why Ji Yufei wants to bring her to Pill Realm to hunt for treasure. I sensed 6 places. The elixir in those places should be pretty good. After a moment, Zi Yan opened his eyes and pointed out several special places to Ji Yufei. At Ji Yufei's current speed, it wouldn't take too long to travel through the entire Pill Realm, and finding the 6 nearby places would naturally not be a problem. An hour later, Ji Yufei brought Zi Yan to the 6th place she had sensed before, which might contain natural treasures. Strange, there is not even a green leaf here, could it be growing underground? Arriving here, Zi Yan was a little confused, and flew slowly along the ground. Careful. As soon as Ji Yufei arrived here, he sensed something strange and quickly reminded Zi Yan. At this moment, a giant python more than 10 feet long jumped out like lightning from the ground that looked like a sand dune, and bit Zi Yan's head directly with its ferocious bloody mouth. Court death. Seeing this scene, Ji Yufei clenched his palm towards the huge python, and the python's head exploded as if it had been squeezed by a huge force, and then the whole body fell to the ground. Damn it, you ugly, legless creature, you actually tried to bite me. Zi Yan angrily kicked the giant python's headless body. She was very strong, and with a light kick, she kicked the huge body of the python away. At the same time that Zi Yan said that, Ji Yufei suddenly felt some unusual movements from the colorful little snake in his sleeve. It seems that Zi Yan's words have offended Queen Medusa invisibly. Ji Yufei suppressed a smile but said nothing. As the giant python's body was thrown away, a sunken pit suddenly appeared under the sand dune. Inside the pit, there was a dark yellow rhizome as big as a child's head. It's hidden underground. This thing seems to be Rhamania glutinosa, and it should be of a fairly high age. Zi Yan muttered as he put away the dark yellow rhizome-like thing the size of a human head. Although she had never seriously studied any knowledge about medicinal herbs, she had consumed so many of them that she knew a little about them. Zi Yan, get out of the way first. Ji Yufei signaled Zi Yan to leave the spot. Although Millennium Earth Yellow Essence is precious, it is not enough to attract Ji Yufei's attention. What he is really interested in is something deeper. Things like Rhamania glutinosa are created by condensing the calm, heavy, and pure power of the earth, but this statement also has its limitations. After growing to 100 years old, the Rhamania glutinosa will no longer grow in size due to the saturation of its energy. That is why Rhamania glutinosa that is over 100 years old is so rare. It is recorded in ancient books that if Rhamania glutinosa can live for more than 100 years, then what nourishes its growth must not be the power of the earth, but other spiritual objects of heaven and earth. Therefore, there must be rare treasures underneath this 1,000-year-old Rhamania essence. It shouldn't be wrong. After Zi Yan walked away, Ji Yufei suddenly aimed his palm at the position of the earth pit, and a huge suction force emerged, continuously sucking out the soil. Soon, a hole tens of meters deep was sucked out on the ground below, and a piece of snow-white jade gradually appeared. What is this? Looking at the snow-white jade that Ji Yufei sucked out of the ground, Zi Yan's eyes lit up and he quickly came over to ask. This thing is not for eating. Ji Yufei knocked Zi Yan. The thing he held in his hand was the Earth Core Jade Mother, a magical jade that was formed over countless years by the power of the earth. When cultivating or refining the elixir, Having a cushion made of Earth's core Jade Mother will have a very effective way of suppressing the violent energy in the body, making it less likely to go astray. The portion is quite large. Ji Yufei looked at the jade stone. It was about half a meter high and as wide as an arm's length. A jade mother of this size is almost impossible to see in the outside world. The next moment, Ji Yufei focused his attention on the sticky liquid oozing out from the edge of the jade. Brother Ji Yufei, what are these liquids? They should be edible, right? Ziyan also noticed this. In her opinion, the crystal clear and sticky liquid that flowed out must be very delicious. If you want to eat medicinal herbs, I'll let you eat as much as you want. Do you see that mountain range over there? There are countless medicinal herbs there, and most of them have been collected by an 8th level magic beast. You don't even have to bother looking for them. Really? Ji Yufei helplessly pointed to the majestic mountains in the distance. At the same time, a fire blade condensed by heavenly flame appeared in his hand. The fire blade lightly cut across the surface of the Earth's core Jade Mother, and a piece of jade about the thickness of a thumb fell off, revealing a walnut-sized hole in it. Inside the hole, faint white mist seeped out. Ji Yufei took a deep breath and immediately felt a silent and comfortable moan coming from the depths of his soul. Tisk. Tisk. Next, Ji Yufei transformed his hand into a fire knife and danced it at lightning speed, cutting the jade pieces. After the local Jade Mother was cut off by about half, a jade pit about the size of a head finally appeared in Ji Yufei's sight. And at this moment, his gaze instantly froze on the white liquid in the jade pit that was less than half a finger deep. It is indeed the Earth's soul. Looking at the sticky white liquid, Ji Yufei had a smile on his face. After working hard for half a day, he finally found it. The Earth's soul marrow is an extremely rare treasure of heaven and earth because it can forge the soul. Even for Ji Yufei's spiritual realm soul, it can have a very good soul-forging effect. Brother Ji Yufei, when are we going to steal the 8th level magical beast medicine storehouse? Ziyan's attention was all on what Ji Yufei had just said, because the other party was an 8th level magical beast, and she didn't dare to go alone. Don't worry, you don't have to be sneaky this time. Once you get there, that rank 8 monster will actively honor you. Chapter 99. Soul Forging, Spiritual Realm Middle Stage. Someone will honor me. Ziyan's forehead was full of question marks. You'll know when you get there. Ji Yufei didn't explain too much. After he collected the Earth's core soul, he took Ziyan and headed towards the huge mountain range in the distance. The effect of the Earth's soul marrow will be better if it is mixed with other medicinal herbs. Ji Yufei still lacks a few medicinal ingredients to prepare the Earth's soul marrow, and those medicinal ingredients can be found in the Warcraft treasury of the Mountain Overlord. After a while, the outline of a huge mountain range appeared in front of their sight. The Wanyao mountain range is like a giant dragon winding around. The air above the mountain is filled with thick fog. This fog is not natural, but condensed from rich energy. Deep in this mountain range, there are continuous and rising roars of beasts, and the roars are filled with a violent aura. With Ji Yufei's speed, even if those monsters discovered them, they would not be able to catch up with them. And so they headed north. Finally, we arrived at the top of the highest and most majestic mountain in Wanyao Mountains. Who dares to trespass into my Shangzan's territory? I want to see who is so bold. Just as the two reached the top of the mountain, a violent voice suddenly sounded from the sky. Immediately, a burly figure stepped out from the distorted space and stood in front of Ji Yufei and the others like an iron tower. When this sturdy figure appeared, a vast, steady, and heavy aura suddenly burst out from his body. This burly man is the overlord of Wanyao Mountain Range, the 8th level monster, Shangzan. His true form is a dragon bear. The dragon bear, this ferocious monster, is rarely seen nowadays, because it is also an ancient monster, and there is some dragon bloodline hidden in its body, so its strength is extraordinary. What are you yelling about, big guy? Seeing this burly man, Ziyan changed her usual behavior, because before she was afraid of some 7th order top level monsters, but now, facing this 8th order monster, she seemed to not take it seriously. As she spoke, a bright purple light flashed across Ziyan's big, watery eyes. The purple light was different from the previous ones. It looked like a dragon. This is the real dragon clan bloodline. When Shangzan saw the dragon-shaped purple light, his strong and broad body couldn't help but tremble. The pressure from bloodline almost made his blood boil. Little ant, Shang Zan just offended you. Shang Zan, who was originally very majestic, now had a flattering look on his face and kept trying to please. At this moment, Ziyan finally understood the meaning of Ji Yufei's previous words. Big guy, what delicious food do you have here? Take it all out. Ziyan got straight to the point. Ziyan was very proud at this moment, as this was one of her few highlight moments. Little ant, I will go and catch 2 7th level monsters for you to replenish your energy. Hearing this, Shang Zan nodded repeatedly. I don't eat meat, I want to eat elixir. Ziyan hurriedly stopped the bear fight. Elixir? Sure, I have plenty here. Shang Zan smiled apologetically and brought Ji Yufei and Ziyan to the huge stone hall on the top of the mountain. At the entrance of the stone hall, there were 2 ferocious monsters lying on the ground. Go play somewhere else. Ziyan took the lead and waved her little hand casually. The 2 seemingly ferocious high-level monsters let out a low whimper, then quickly retreated away with their tails between their legs. They felt a sense of oppression from the bloodline on Ziyan, which made them have no intention of resisting at all. Such performance also made Ziyan look more proud. This time, she was finally able to show off in front of Ji Yufei. She looked back at Ji Yufei and blinked, as if to say, see, I'm awesome. I scared them away with just 1 sentence. Ji Yufei also responded by giving her a thumbs up. Next, the 2 followed Shang Zan and walked quickly into the stone hall, passed through several corridors in the stone hall, and then arrived at the spacious square inside the hall. As Ji Yufei stepped into the square, a strong and almost sticky medicinal fragrance rushed towards him. The square was filled with densely packed medicinal herbs. These things are extremely rare in the outside world. However, here, they are placed here randomly like cabbages. Wow, this is too much. Seeing this scene, Ziyan drooled instantly, and she wanted to jump into the square immediately to have a few bites. Ziyan, don't worry, wait until I find what I need, then you can build it later. Ji Yufei quickly grabbed Ziyan. It would be bad if this little greedy guy ate the medicinal herbs that I needed. All right. Ziyan suppressed the impulse. She was still counting on Ji Yufei to help her make pills in the future. After all, these medicinal herbs don't taste very good if you eat them raw. Do you mind if I get some herbs? Ji Yufei turned around, glanced at Shang Zan, and asked with a smile. No problem, little brother, please feel free to do as you please. Shang Zan had already felt Ji Yufei's venerable cultivation base before, and Ziyan seemed to be completely obedient to Ji Yufei, so Shang Zan was also very polite to Ji Yufei. Thank you. Ji Yufei smiled, then entered the square to look for the herbs he needed. What he needed most was a herb called Gastrodia Jade Essence. This thing is the key item that Ji Yufei uses to harmonize the earth's core soul. Although there were many different kinds of medicinal herbs on the square, with Ji Yufei's ability, he was able to quickly find a piece of Gastrodia Elata Jade Essence. I've picked it. Ji Yufei waved towards Ziyan. As soon as he finished speaking, Ziyan jumped onto the square, picked up a golden fruit and started to eat it. The hard golden fruit was difficult to cut with an ordinary sword, but Ziyan's teeth easily bit it open. You eat first, I'm going to do something. Ji Yufei asked Shang Zan for a stone chamber and began to try to reconcile the earth's soul essence. Now that all the materials have been gathered, refining is not a difficult task, especially for Ji Yufei who has been promoted to Tier 8 alchemist. In just 1 hour, 3 bottles of perfectly prepared earth's soul essence were placed in front of Ji Yufei. Ji Yufei's efficiency is undoubtedly much higher than that of Brother Yunxing in the original book, and basically no earth core soul marrow is wasted. I wonder how much my spiritual strength will be enhanced by drinking you. Ji Yufei didn't hesitate. He picked up one of the jade bottles and poured the liquid into his mouth. At the moment when the soul essence of the earth's core poured into his body, Ji Yufei's head suddenly buzzed. At this moment, the spiritual strength between his eyebrows suddenly expanded as if it had eaten a catalyst. The expansion was so rapid that Ji Yufei felt a slight pain in the center of his eyebrows. A terrifyingly powerful strange energy is rapidly seeping into the soul. At the same time, Ji Yufei's soul strength began to increase suddenly, as if he had eaten something tonic. Chapter 100. Ziyan advances. The Queen transforms. It's been 5 days, why hasn't Brother Ji Yufei come out yet? In the stone hall, Ziyan was lying on the chair that originally belonged to Shangzan, with his legs crossed. Ever since Ji Yufei went into seclusion, she has been counting the time. She is almost tired of eating those medicinal herbs. Sometimes when she encounters herbs that taste bad, she just takes a bite and throws them away. As time went by, Ziyan spoke less and less, and rarely ordered Shangzan around. Gradually, her face became unusually red and her body became as hot as a furnace. My little aunt, what's wrong with you? Did you eat too much and can't digest it? Ziyan's changes made Shangzan a little anxious, but he didn't understand anything about it. Just when Shangzan was hesitating whether to call out Ji Yufei who was in seclusion, Ziyan suddenly fell into a deep sleep. While he was sleeping, a rich purple light poured out from his body. Finally, it transformed into a purple light cocoon several meters long and wide, completely wrapping her body. At this moment, an invisible wave that was invisible to the naked eye passed through the wall of the hall and spread over the sky of the mountain. Boom. As the wave spread out, the mountains and the sky and the earth suddenly rioted like a boiling oil pan. The sudden riot of heaven and earth also attracted the attention of all the monsters on the mountain. However, this strange airflow of spiritual energy is too illusory for them. Except for a few extremely powerful high-level magical beasts who can vaguely sense it, other magical beasts can only look at the world in blankness. This is. Shangzan was also slightly startled by this sudden change. He glanced around and then stopped at the stone room deep in the stone hall where Ji Yufei was in seclusion. A hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. Is this the so-called spiritual energy? It is said that only some alchemy masters who have advanced to tier 8 can absorb this thing. This person's talent is nothing short of monstrous. Shangzan's eyes flickered slightly. Although he looks rough, he is quite knowledgeable. After all, the Pill Realm was once the base camp of the Pill Tower. It is only now declining that they are gradually evacuating. He didn't expect that Ji Yufei, at such a young age, had already broken through to Do Venerable in his cultivation base, and even his spiritual strength had reached a terrifying level. Bang! When Shangzan was shocked, a shocking loud noise suddenly rang out from the stone chamber, and then the extremely hard ceiling of the stone chamber exploded. An invisible light suddenly burst out from it, and then stopped in midair. A vast spiritual strength, like a huge wave, swept out at lightning speed. Far above the sky, an invisible light was suspended in the sky, and the vast and majestic spiritual strength, with it as the center point, swept out in all directions like a tide. At this moment, in the entire mountain range, except for some extremely powerful high-level monsters, the rest of the monsters all felt an extremely strong spiritual storm. Under this huge spiritual storm, their bodies couldn't help but tremble slightly. At the same time, in the stone room where Ji Yufei was in seclusion, a small colorful snake was directly impacted by the spiritual strength and flew out, hit the stone wall and then fell to the ground. As the light flashed, the colorful little snake instantly turned into an extremely attractive naked figure. The enchanting beauty with her naked body is none other than Queen Medusa. At this moment, she has obviously upgraded to the level of Do Ancestor. Because her original snake tail had turned into 2 slender white human legs, and her snow-white feet were suspended half an inch above the ground, crystal clear and not stained by dust. Spiritual storm is so strong. This person is becoming more and more terrifying. If he continues to grow at this speed, I'm afraid I will never be able to catch up with him in my lifetime. At this moment, Queen Medusa looked at Ji Yufei who was sitting cross-legged with her beautiful eyes, and a hint of murderous intent spread in her heart. She could feel that at this moment Ji Yufei's soul was no longer in his body. For her, this was a great opportunity. However, at this moment, she hesitated. One reason was that after following Ji Yufei closely for some time, she knew how terrifying Ji Yufei was. There is another reason, which even Queen Medusa herself cannot tell. Queen Medusa's attention was completely focused on Ji Yufei at the moment, so much so that she ignored the fact that she was naked. Call out. Under the gaze of Queen Medusa, an invisible ball of light passed through the stone wall and suddenly shot towards Ji Yufei's forehead in the stone chamber. In a flash, it disappeared. That invisible ball of light was Ji Yufei's soul. At this moment, when the soul entered Ji Yufei's eyebrows again, his body trembled slightly. The spiritual storm that was spreading all over the place also dissipated at this moment. Ji Yufei's dark eyes finally regained clarity. However, just as he woke up, an extremely erotic scene appeared in his sight. Queen Medusa was standing naked 3 meters in front of him. The ups and downs of the snow-white mountains. Skin as white as jade. Charming face. Each one of them greatly stimulated Ji Yufei's nerves. Before, Queen Medusa had appeared naked in front of Ji Yufei, but at that time Queen Medusa had not yet transformed, and the presence of a snake tail allowed Ji Yufei to suppress his restlessness. This time, the sexy snake tail turned into jade feet. Ji Yufei felt hotter in his heart than before, and his breathing unconsciously became heavier. What do you want? When Queen Medusa saw Ji Yufei's eyes, she realized her own situation, and a hint of embarrassment suddenly appeared on her charming face. She waved her hand, and the Do Chi energy instantly formed a red gauze skirt on her body surface. What do I want to do? Didn't you just stand in front of me naked to seduce me? You don't feel so inferior that you think you are unattractive to a man when you are naked, do you? After Queen Medusa's body was covered a little, Ji Yufei regained some of his senses and asked Queen Medusa a question with a smile. Nonsense. I will never seduce you. Also, Queen Medusa decisively denied Ji Yufei's first sentence. However, when she was about to answer the second sentence, she suddenly realized something was wrong and quickly swallowed the words. Just now, the sky-swallowing python was briefly stunned by your spiritual storm. I suddenly appeared and forgot all that for a moment. Queen Medusa calmed down for a moment and explained in a low voice. At this moment, her face was extremely hot, more attractive than usual. As if she felt that something unexpected would happen if she continued like this, she slowly squatted down, and surrounded by colorful light, Queen Medusa once again turned into a colorful little snake.